a man possesses the ability to talk to animals. Because of this, he opened an animal hospital. This sparked heated discussions among the small animals, because all they had to do was tell the doctor what they wanted to eat, and the doctor would suggest to their owners that they change their food to something tastier. Li Jun, because of this ability, gradually became confident about the future development of his hospital. But his confidence was soon shaken by a teddy dog named Chocolate, because no matter how he asked, Chocolate refused to speak. The dog even turned its head away, ignoring him. At this moment, Chocolate's mom also became curious about Li Jun's treatment method. She had actually come through a referral from Peanut's mom, because Chocolate had suddenly started refusing to go for walks. She brought him in for a checkup. A perplexed Li Jun picked up Chocolate, preparing to give him an x-ray. While performing the x-ray, Li Jun felt his approach was questionable. He was trying to take a shortcut by asking the animals what was wrong. However, when the results came back, they showed no problems with Chocolate's legs. So Li Jun guessed it might be a psychological issue. Encountering a sudden incident during a walk can cause a dog to develop an aversion to it. Was your Chocolate frightened by anything during a walk? While comforting Chocolate in her arms, Chocolate's mom recalled a walk a few days prior. She had been walking Chocolate in the park at night when a drunk man suddenly appeared. Without a word, the man picked up Chocolate and started to hug him tightly. Although the police later took the man away, Chocolate was frightened by the incident. Li Jun looked at Chocolate, who was trembling in his arms, and suspected this might be the reason. Chocolate's mom also noticed how much Chocolate was trembling in her arms. She quickly leaned in to comfort him. At this moment, Li Jun suddenly noticed that Chocolate only moved one ear when he heard his mom speak. And just now, during the x-ray, Sula had also mentioned that Chocolate could only raise one ear, just like a little rabbit, which she found cute. So Li Jun asked Chocolate's mom to put Chocolate on the table. He wanted to conduct a test. Li Jun dropped the ball in his hand, landing it to Chocolate's right. Chocolate didn't react, but when he threw the ball to the left, Chocolate immediately reacted. Seeing this, Li Jun made a diagnosis. He told the guardian that Chocolate wasn't refusing to walk simply because of the fright, but because Chocolate's right ear was naturally weak. The drunk man must have suddenly grabbed Chocolate from the right side. Because Chocolate's right ear had poor hearing, he was startled. Normally, puppies will raise their ears in the direction of sound, but Chocolate can only do this with his left ear. Hearing this explanation, Chocolate's mom was at a loss for words. She felt guilty that she hadn't known her dog had a problem with his ear. She bowed her head and apologized to Li Jun. Thank you for diagnosing Chocolate's problem so quickly. If it weren't for you, doctor, I might never have known. As they were leaving, Li Jun told Chocolate, from now on, your mom will be more careful in protecting you. So don't worry. Go for walks with your mom without fear. After hearing this, Chocolate perked up his ears and let out a soft bark, surprising Li Jun. But soon, Chocolate turned his head away again. It seemed Chocolate was just a very shy dog. One day, the doctor had a strange dream. In the dream, he arrived at a pet paradise. Everywhere he looked, there were heartwarming and adorable scenes. It was like the legendary dog star and cat star. Suddenly, a voice behind him made the man turn around. When he saw who it was, his eyes filled with surprise and excitement. It was Dodo, the dog he had once owned. The man bent down and greeted Dodo. How are you doing, Dodo? I'm doing well, so don't worry. But gradually, Dodo's figure began to fade. Be sure to get along with the other pups, okay? The man reached out, trying to grab him, but ultimately couldn't stop Dodo from disappearing. All that remained in his hand was a ball. Just as he was wondering what it was, the ball suddenly burst with a dazzling light in his palm. Then, the man woke up from his dream. He glanced at the photo album beside him. He thought Dodo must have come to his dream to cheer him on, because today was the opening day of his animal hospital. After pushing open the door, a young woman in the hospital was cleaning. Seeing him, she greeted him warmly. Good morning, Dr. Li Jun. Then she quickly corrected herself, saying it should be Director Li Jun. But Li Jun didn't mind. After all, the title of director was too unfamiliar to him. And this girl cleaning was Zhang Sula. They had worked together when he first volunteered. Also, she now held the position of office manager in his hospital. Sula's greatest strength was her love for all kinds of small animals. Although Sula was full of confidence in the hospital, Li Jun was a little worried. After all, there were still many large animal hospitals nearby. Unexpectedly, Sula said that even if her salary was delayed, it wouldn't matter, because she didn't come to the hospital for the money. It was because she liked the director's treatment style that she followed him. Thank you, Manager Zhang. Li Jun just thanked her when Sula immediately turned her head. No need to thank me too much. The salary should still be paid. The two were just about to go back to work when a hurried ringing suddenly sounded from the entrance of the clinic, causing both of them to turn their heads and look. They saw a little girl crying her eyes out, holding a distressed little white dog, standing alone at the entrance of the hospital. Please save Xiao Meng. Li Jun bent down to comfort the girl and asked her what happened. The girl cried even harder, saying that Xiao Meng suddenly couldn't breathe. Touching the puppy's body, Li Jun found that the puppy was trembling badly. The girl couldn't stop crying. What should I do if Xiao Meng dies? This scene deeply touched Li Jun's heart. He had been just like this when he was a child, carrying Dodo around looking for help. So the man quickly picked up Xiao Meng and rushed into the treatment room. Xiao Meng's mouth kept drooling, and his breathing would occasionally stop. There were many possible diagnoses for these symptoms: tracheal stenosis, pulmonary edema, pneumothorax, or laryngeal paralysis. But the most likely cause was swallowing a foreign object. Seeing Xiao Meng's condition worsening, Li Jun quickly asked Sula to prepare oxygen and an X-ray. Just then, he suddenly heard a child's voice. He thought the little girl had run into the treatment room, so he asked Sula to take her out. But Sula pointed to the crying little girl outside the door. The guardian had clearly been waiting outside the whole time. Li Jun was immediately dumbfounded. He looked at the dying Xiao Meng in front of him, suspecting he had misheard. But the most urgent thing was to save Xiao Meng. Li Jun put on his stethoscope and examined Xiao Meng to find the cause. He finally confirmed that something was stuck in his throat. So Li Jun placed his hand on the dog's abdomen and pressed firmly, repeatedly, to induce vomiting. Finally, Xiao Meng successfully vomited out the foreign object stuck in his esophagus. Li Jun took a closer look, and it was a grape. It's important to know that for small dogs like Maltese, even food the size of an almond can be dangerous. But fortunately, Xiao Meng was no longer in distress. Seeing this, Li Jun couldn't help but smile. You held on well, Xiao Meng. You're very brave. Hearing Xiao Meng speak, Li Jun was instantly speechless. The little dog in front of him wagged his tail and apologized to him. Thank you, doctor, for saving me. Are you Xiao Meng? Xiao Meng raised his paw and admitted, my name is Xiao Meng. I'm 4 years old. I like teddy bears and delicious snacks. Doctor, can you understand me? Listening to Xiao Meng's chatter, Li Jun finally believed that he could really understand what he was saying. At this moment, the little girl outside pushed the door open. Li Jun held to revive Xiao Meng and reassured her, Xiao Meng is all right now. He handed Xiao Meng to the girl. Xiao Meng wagged his tail and called out to his owner. Suddenly, a teardrop fell on his head. Seeing Xiao Meng again, the little girl choked up, scolding him. Why did you sneak grapes when I wasn't looking? Xiao Meng quickly licked the tears from the girl's face, promising never to do it again. Although it was a heartwarming and touching scene, to Li Jun, who could understand Xiao Meng, it felt a little strange. But it was also thanks to being able to hear Xiao Meng's voice that he didn't suffer like Dodo had. Then Li Jun handed the little girl a small bag. This is a commemorative gift for our grand opening. Xiao Meng is the hospital's first patient. Just in case, let's take him to a bigger hospital too. Afterwards, Li Jun searched online for information about animal communicators. His conclusion was that animal communicators can't directly communicate with animals, but he could understand what the cat in the video was saying. He couldn't help but wonder if this had something to do with the gift Dodo gave him in his dream. Suddenly, Sula's voice beside him startled him. Being able to communicate with animals is a really convenient ability. That way, you can quickly find out what's wrong with them. I wish we had that ability. Li Jun chuckled nervously. Then he noticed someone lingering outside the hospital. Because it was a newly opened pet hospital, the woman was hesitant to enter. Just then, Li Jun opened the door and asked if she needed any treatment. For a moment, they were both embarrassed. After a pause, the woman explained that she just wanted to look at the pet food. After entering the hospital, the woman put down the dog in her arms and told Li Jun that her dog hadn't been eating well lately, so she wanted to try some different food. Li Jun was about to ask Sula to show the woman the food when he suddenly heard the dog complain, I don't need new food. My gums hurt. Li Jun bent down and asked the dog, what do you mean your gums hurt? The dog was startled by the young man, who could speak dog. But then he acted like a flirtatious older man, asking Li Jun's age and name. After Li Jun patiently answered, he asked the dog's name. He said proudly, "My name is Peanut. My mom gave me that name." But soon Peanut sighed again. His mom never understood him, and it made him depressed. It turned out that Peanut had been throwing up his food for the past few days, trying to let his mom know his gums hurt and he couldn't eat. However, his mom thought it was because he was getting old and showered him with kisses. "Mommy will pay more attention to your senior diet from now on." Peanut was about to go crazy. He just had a sore gum, but he was treated like an old geezer. But his complaints were cut short by his mom. "Peanut, be quiet." Peanut retorted, "Boo, food cheat, ly mom." She immediately picked Peanut up and apologized to Lee Jun. "This child is always so noisy." Then Lee Jun asked the woman, "Can I take a look at Peanut's mouth?" Before the woman could give Peanut the command, Peanut obediently opened his mouth wide, startling the woman. After a brief examination, Lee Jun confirmed that Peanut's gums were a bit inflamed. The woman anxiously asked if it was serious. Lee Jun reassured her, "Just switch him a wet food and let him recover slowly. If you're really worried, teeth cleaning is also an option. But teeth cleaning requires anesthesia." "My dog is old. Will that be okay?" Lee Jun explained that as long as they did a checkup first, it would be fine. He added that Peanut was much healthier than his age suggested. So, Lee Jun prescribed some anti-inflammatory medication for the woman. Sula happily came out with the bill. While the woman was paying, Lee Jun also gave the woman a small grand opening gift, which contained toothpaste that helps clean tartar. "Thank you, doctor. I'll take better care of Peanut and make sure he's healthy." After the woman left, Peanut sincerely thanked Lee Jun. "Doctor, thank you for telling my mom what I was thinking." Lee Jun waved goodbye. Sula asked in surprise, "Director, how did you know Peanut's gums hurt?" "I guessed. He said he couldn't eat his food, so I thought it might be a gum problem." Sula immediately thought of the TV vets who could talk to dogs and suggested Lee Jun use that style to attract customers. Just then, someone else came to the door. It was the little girl's mother from earlier. She came to thank Lee Jun for saving Xiao Ming and to pay for his treatment. The little girl tugged on Lee Jun's clothes, looking shy. "Because the doctor gave me a present, I wanted to give you one too. Can I open it now?" The girl nodded. After opening the gift, Lee Jun and Sula were both stunned. Inside was a drawing the little girl had made herself. Lee Jun smiled and said he would treasure it. Over the next few days, Wang Animal Hospital attracted many customers who came because of its reputation. Lee Jun and Sula were both swamped with patients coming for checkups. At Lee Jun's call, a waiting customer entered the examination room. Immediately, the puppy's attention was drawn to her. The newcomer was a woman carrying a cat carrier, exuding an air of authority. After the two entered the cat examination room, Lee Jun routinely reviewed the medical record book, but the woman stared at him, looking distrustful. Lee Jun, clearly sensing her hostility, asked about her pet's symptoms. The woman responded coldly, "You're the doctor? Shouldn't you know better?" She crossed her arms, determined not to be fooled again. It turned out that she had visited several animal hospitals recently, but the doctors there either prescribed medication perfunctorily or recommended all sorts of expensive tests. After being cheated countless times, she had gradually lost faith in animal hospitals. However, her cat, Tofu's, condition hadn't improved. Just when she didn't know what to do, she overheard her neighbors discussing a newly opened animal hospital. Upon learning the hospital's name, the woman immediately rushed to Wang Animal Hospital. But Lee Jun was unaware of the woman's past experiences and could only humbly ask to see Tofu's condition. After opening the cat carrier, Lee Jun called for Tofu to come out. He was immediately startled by Tofu's state. A small, thin white cat huddled inside, trembling and saying he was scared and hated being sick. Lee Jun realized Tofu was terrified, so he took out a cat treat and encouraged Tofu to come out and eat it. Sure enough, Tofu reacted instantly, but he quickly retreated. "I'll get a shot after eating the treat." "I'm not coming out." Lee Jun gently coaxed Tofu. "I promise there will be absolutely no shots today." At this point, Tofu realized the doctor could understand him. He poked his head out of the carrier. "Can the doctor understand what Tofu is saying?" Lee Jun picked up the little cat and asked, "Where does it hurt, Tofu?" Tofu tilted his head in thought for a moment. Then he chattered away to Lee Jun, nearly talking his ear off. The woman was astonished by this scene. Tofu was actually meowing affectionately in the doctor's arms. He had never been so warm toward a doctor before. Lee Jun gently covered Tofu's mouth. "Oh, after all that, you just had a runny nose and a cough." Tofu nodded. "Yes, that's right." Lee Jun observed Tofu's condition. He then told the woman that Tofu had a cat flu, a common feline cold. The woman's face instantly turned cold. She waved her hand dismissively, telling Li Jun not to bother with further examinations and to just prescribe the medication. Li Jun was bewildered by her sudden impatience. He could only watch as the woman left without any further examination. Sula was annoyed by the woman's behavior, but Li Jun thought she might have some unspoken difficulties. A few days later, an unexpected visitor banged on the hospital's door. It was Tofu's guardian. She furiously demanded to see the hospital director. Li Jun, upon hearing this, rushed to see what was happening. As soon as he asked what the matter was, the woman burst into tears, blaming Li Jun. Tofu doesn't have a cold. It's all your fault he's like this. Looking at the weak Tofu in the carrier, Li Jun felt a pang of guilt. In the examination room, he asked the guardian to explain Tofu's situation in detail. After calming down, she told Li Jun that Tofu had been having a runny nose as usual, but today, his nose suddenly started bleeding. Hearing this, Li Jun realized that Tofu didn't have a common cold. He carefully recalled what Tofu had said. Tofu had mentioned constantly sneezing and smelling something sweet. Suddenly, a possibility occurred to Li Jun. He told the guardian that Tofu might not have a cold, and to determine the exact cause, an endoscopy was needed. As soon as he finished speaking, Tofu's guardian shot up in a panic. Tofu was so small. What if something went wrong with the anesthesia? Unexpectedly, Li Jun interrupted her. He planned to perform the endoscopy without anesthesia. The guardian thought Li Jun was being unreasonable. Just as she was about to lose her temper, a weak meow came. "Sister, I'm in so much pain." Tofu seemed to be dying. Seeing Tofu's condition worsening, the woman had no choice but to agree to the endoscopy. Arriving at the treatment room, Li Jun personally called to Tofu from inside her carrier. But as soon as Tofu poked her head out, she saw all sorts of needles laid out on the table. It frightened her almost out of her wits. She was terrified of being poked again. She immediately jumped on Li Jun, crying, "Doctor, I don't want the checkup anymore. I hate it." Seeing Tofu clinging to him and meowing frantically, Li Jun guessed that she was afraid of needles. He tried to comfort her. "Don't be afraid. You're lying. Everyone says that, but it always ends up hurting a lot. Are you afraid of needles, Tofu?" Tofu blinked her big eyes. "How did the doctor know?" Li Jun, feeling a bit awkward at Tofu's adoring gaze, continued to coax her like a child. "If you listen to the doctor, you won't need any needles." Tofu happily agreed. With Tofu's consent, Li Jun immediately began preparing for the endoscopy. Meanwhile, Tofu's guardian paced anxiously outside the treatment room. She had only agreed to the procedure because Tofu was in so much pain. Now, she couldn't help but worry that Tofu would be mistreated inside. After all, she often saw similar news stories online. Suddenly, the door to the treatment room opened. "That Tofu's surgery is over," the guardian heard. She rushed over to check on Tofu. She then saw Tofu affectionately rubbing against Li Jun's face. Li Jun handed Tofu to her guardian. "Just give her some medicine and let her rest, and she'll be fine." Seeing the revived Tofu in her arms, the woman's worries finally melted away. She happily cuddled Tofu close. Then, Li Jun called out to her, "Do you have any plants or flower vases with fresh flowers at home?" The guardian didn't understand why he was asking. Li Jun explained, "I found something that looks like grass in Tofu's nose." The woman was baffled. She hardly ever took Tofu for walks. How could something like that get in her nose? Suddenly, she remembered. She had recently brought home a bouquet of flowers. Because Tofu had shown interest in the flowers, she had only been focused on taking pictures of her. Afterward, she had let Tofu play near them unsupervised. The thought that her carelessness had caused Tofu's illness brought tears to her eyes. Seeing the guardian's self-reproach, Li Jun comforted her. Ordinary plants are rarely harmful to cats. Hearing this, Tofu poked her little head out. Sick animals tend to be more sensitive. It had been a difficult time for both the guardian and Tofu. The guardian apologized to Li Jun. She explained that she had been so sensitive because Tofu had been sick for a while. She was grateful to the doctor for restoring Tofu's health. After the guardian and Tofu left, an orange cat also left the hospital. It went to the park to report to the other cats. A cat visited that hospital recently. I have a feeling that human is indiscriminately capturing stray cats. The other cats trembled in fear at the mention of such a terrifying vet. Only Silvaline, the leader of the cat gang, stepped forward, ready to personally investigate Li Jun. Not long ago, Li Jun had cured Tofu's illness. He finally had some free time to have dinner with his friends. The boisterous-looking man was called Guo Xiaohao. He was a short video blogger with 500,000 followers. His main work involved taking pictures of wild animals or drawing. The man in the suit and glasses was Choi Woo-jin. He was Lee Jun's childhood friend and a classmate from veterinary school. Upon meeting, he addressed Lee Jun as Dr. Jun, which both Lee Jun and Guo Xiaohao found a bit strange. It turned out that ever since Tofu's recovery, her guardian had been praising Wang Animal Hospital on various platforms. She declared it the perfect animal hospital. The post's influence had spread throughout the veterinary community. Guo Xiaohao was delighted that Lee Jun had become famous. They were just about to enjoy some juice together when Choi Woo-jin stopped them. He and Lee Jun had to work the next day. Guo Xiaohao was immediately disappointed. "I can't believe you're being so cold to a friend you haven't seen in a year. You disloyal jerk. You only care about Lee Jun, and you ignore me." Choi Woo-jin was overwhelmed by the barrage of complaints. He just video called Guo Xiaohao 2 days ago. Despite this, Choi Woo-jin finally agreed to a few more drinks. Then Choi Woo-jin asked Lee Jun about the rumor. How could he perform that procedure on a cat without anesthesia? Lee Jun simply replied that Tofu was a good cat, which is why the surgery went smoothly. Choi Woo-jin didn't understand how cats could be categorized as good or bad. Weren't they all equally rambunctious? Guo Xiaohao immediately understood. Choi Woo-jin had been scratched by a cat again. He teased him about being a veterinarian who couldn't handle cats. Just then, Silverline, the leader of the cat gang, approached the three of them. He meowed loudly at Lee Jun a few times. Guo Xiaohao and Choi Woo-jin were instantly captivated by the large, handsome silver tabby. Their gazes were fixed on Silverline, but he stared intently at Lee Jun. Suddenly, Silverline caught a whiff of the delicious aroma from the table. He instantly transformed into a glutton, his stomach rumbling. He gestured with his paw at Lee Jun, urging him to bring him the food. Because the food was heavily seasoned, Lee Jun refused. Instead, he opened a can of cat food and placed it in a bowl for Silverline. Silverline ate with relish. Lee Jun crouched down and asked, "How is it? Tasty?" "Eat slowly, little gray cat. There's water here too." Hearing this, Silverline's fur bristled. "I am Silverline, captain of the cat gang. Don't talk to me so casually. And you, vet, don't pretend to be kind. You humans only do bad things to us cats." Lee Jun was puzzled by Silverline's hostility. He explained, "Vets are people who help you get better. We do those things to help you." Before he could finish, Silverline interrupted him loudly. "Stop lying." He looked wary, thinking humans would never do anything good for us cats. He then abandoned the cat food and ran off. As he left, he told Lee Jun, "I'll be watching you." After Silverline left, Guo Xiaohao was disappointed he hadn't taken a picture of him. Lee Jun reassured him that there would be other opportunities as Silverline lived in the nearby park. Back at the park, Silverline told his fellow cats that the vet was indeed, as rumored, able to talk to them. But that wasn't enough to completely trust him. He planned to continue observing Lee Jun for a while. Just then, a cat came running up to Silverline, panting, to report that Sweet Pea wanted to see the captain. Silverline asked about Sweet Pea's condition. The cat became hesitant. Sweet Pea's condition had worsened considerably. Although Silverline wanted to visit Sweet Pea, Sweet Pea was now a house cat. We stray cats shouldn't bother her too much. That's the rule for house cats. The cat knew this, but Sweet Pea could no longer get out of bed. Hearing this, an orange cat also urged Silverline to visit Sweet Pea as soon as possible. Unfortunately, as stray cats, they couldn't enter the hospital. While Silverline was racking his brains for a solution, he suddenly remembered what Lee Jun had said that afternoon. Vets are people who can prevent them from getting sick. Although he was reluctant to ask a human for help, it was now the only way to see Sweet Pea. So, he braved the heavy rain and arrived at Lee Jun's doorstep. "Vet, I have a favor to ask you. Back home." Lee Jun dried Silverline while asking him what was the matter. Silverline told him that one of their friends was very sick, and they might never see him again. He wanted to see him one last time. Seeing Lee Jun didn't immediately agree. Silverline wasn't surprised. After all, humans never considered a cat's matters important. But the next moment, Lee Jun excitedly scooped up Silverline. "That's so sweet of you. You'd go this far for a friend." Silverline was startled by the sudden movement and wriggled free, jumping to the floor. He warned Lee Jun not to touch him, the captain of the cat gang. Li Jun apologized and agreed to his request. Meanwhile, at the animal hospital, Sweet Pea lay motionless in his ward, sleeping. This wasn't his first time at the hospital. Sweet Pea's once loving owner brought him in to be neutered. As a result, however, the vet diagnosed him with a variety of miscellaneous illnesses. The vet even asserted that he wouldn't live much longer. After returning home, Sweet Pea's owner was overwhelmed by the expensive medical bills. Although the wife still wanted to try, the husband insisted on abandoning Sweet Pea, who wasn't affectionate or close to people. He even brought up the possibility of their child being scratched by Sweet Pea. And so, little Sweet Pea began his life as a stray for the first time. Cold and hungry, he wandered into another stray cat's territory while searching for food. According to the rules of the cat world, Sweet Pea knew he only had two choices: flee or fight. But he was simply too weak. Just then, Silverline hissed at the two stray cats. After the two stray cats ran away, Sweet Pea expressed his gratitude to Silverline. He felt admiration for Silverline, who could scare away stray cats with just a single hiss. Silverline, having seen everything, comforted Sweet Pea, saying, "Being strong or weak isn't something you can decide." He then invited Sweet Pea to live with him in the park. From that moment on, Sweet Pea acknowledged Silverline as his leader. But the good times didn't last. One day, a van full of people came to the park. They were indiscriminately capturing stray cats everywhere. Several stray cats, including Sweet Pea, were caught and put into cages. After being caught, Sweet Pea felt very guilty. He believed that a cat like him, so weak and prone to causing trouble, wasn't suited to live with everyone else. Just then, someone suddenly called out his name, Sweet Pea, and so he was taken home by a woman. She prepared all sorts of cat supplies for Sweet Pea, as well as delicious and endless food. Feeling the woman's affectionate petting, Sweet Pea felt the warmth of family for the first time. He thought that perhaps this person was different from the others. However, at some point, Sweet Pea was forced to take medication. Finally, he was put into the carrier he hated most. Sweet Pea helplessly patted the cage. He knew the vet was discussing his medical expenses with his owner, and after hearing the cost, the owner clearly found it difficult to accept. Sweet Pea couldn't help but recall the arguments with his previous owner. He was very worried that he would be abandoned again. Sure enough, he was left alone at the hospital. Watching his owner's receding figure, Sweet Pea knew he had been abandoned once more. He longed to return to the park and live with everyone again. Just then, Li Jun burst into the hospital with Silverline. Silverline, standing on Li Jun's shoulders, called out Sweet Pea's name. Hearing his leader's voice, Sweet Pea rushed to the glass and responded. The two cats excitedly greeted each other through the glass. After a while, Sweet Pea noticed Li Jun standing nearby. Silverline explained that this guy was a subordinate, only to be interrupted by Li Jun. "I'm the one who helped Silverline come see you." Sweet Pea hadn't expected his leader to seek help from a human for his sake, but he quickly lowered his head sadly. "Thank you for letting me see my leader, but I'm beyond saving now." Li Jun and Silverline quickly tried to cheer Sweet Pea up. "You pulled through before. You can definitely overcome this illness and go home this time too." Hearing the word home, a flicker of sadness crossed Sweet Pea's eyes. "I understand what you mean. A human house is indeed warmer than living outside." Both Li Jun and Silverline excitedly thought Sweet Pea had regained his fighting spirit and was ready to receive treatment and go home. However, they then heard Sweet Pea say he wanted to return to the park to be with his companions. Sweet Pea, with a determined look, pleaded with Li Jun to take him away from the hospital. Li Jun anxiously told him, "You just need to get better." Silverline was also startled. This meant there was a possibility for Sweet Pea to recover. Li Jun then started rambling on, analyzing the causes and symptoms of Sweet Pea's illness, making Silverline feel like he was listening to gibberish. He raised his paw and swatted at Li Jun. "If he can be cured, then just cure him. Stop saying things I don't understand." At this time, Sweet Pea's owner was waiting in the treatment area. He clutched a collar engraved with Sweet Pea's name in his hand and couldn't help but recall his time as a volunteer. Back then, he wanted to adopt a neutered stray cat. He believed that adopting these cats was a better choice than releasing them back onto the streets. So, he easily got approval, and he immediately noticed Sweet Pea wearing his collar. Although Sweet Pea was very wary of him and even hissed hostilely, he still decided to take Sweet Pea home. So he found the girl who organized the volunteer activities and expressed his intention to adopt Sweet Pea. The girl was very happy to hear this. There weren't any special requirements for adopting a cat, as long as one could be responsible for them. However, after returning home, Sweet Pea scratched him when he tried to give him medicine for his injuries. Seeing Sweet Pea hissing warily at him, he couldn't help but feel a little disheartened. Just then, he was awakened by a doctor calling his name. Coming to his senses, he realized Dr. Choi Woo-jin was introducing a veterinarian specifically brought in from outside to examine Sweet Pea. Lee Jun then smiled and told Sweet Pea's guardian that he was recovering well and could be discharged for now. The guardian was overjoyed and reached out to take Sweet Pea home. But Sweet Pea was reluctant to approach him and remained extremely wary. Seeing this, Lee Jun knew that Sweet Pea hadn't opened his heart yet. Caring for a sick kitten like this was hard work, and he was worried about whether the guardian could persevere. So he told the guardian that Sweet Pea would need ongoing treatment, and there would be many future visits to the hospital, resulting in a significant financial burden. These words made Sweet Pea feel a little dejected. After all, his previous owner had abandoned him for the same reason. No one would want to adopt a burden like him. Just when Sweet Pea thought he was going to be abandoned again, the guardian suddenly reached out and fastened a newly prepared collar around Sweet Pea's neck. Seeing that the collar suited Sweet Pea perfectly, the guardian gave a heartfelt smile. The old collar was worn out, so I got a new one, he said, reassuring Lee Jun. He had already prepared himself mentally for the financial aspect. As long as Sweet Pea stayed with him and grew up healthy, it wouldn't be a problem. Sweet Pea stared blankly at the guardian, realizing he didn't seem to intend to abandon him. His eyes instantly lit up. He finally had a family willing to care for him. Sweet Pea slowly placed his paw on the guardian's hand and then began to lick it happily. This was his family. The guardian was so moved by Sweet Pea's actions that he almost burst into tears. He joyfully scooped Sweet Pea into his arms, and Sweet Pea looked utterly content. Seeing this, Lee Jun breathed a sigh of relief, knowing he had nothing to worry about. At that moment, Choi Woo-jin, who was outside the door, sensed that the treatment was over and peeked his head in to observe the situation inside. Silverline was saying his final goodbyes to Sweet Pea. I believe you'll do well wherever you go, so live a happy and healthy life. However, from Choi Woo-jin's perspective, it looked like two cats were excitedly meowing at each other, leaving him utterly bewildered. Afterwards, Lee Jun asked Silverline if he needed more time to say goodbye. Silverline clearly indicated he didn't, saying he had already said everything he wanted to say and that he believed Sweet Pea would have a good life. Suddenly, he realized Lee Jun was holding him, so he swatted him a few times. He declined Lee Jun's offer to take him back to the park, and then asked Lee Jun how he was able to treat animals in someone else's territory. It turned out that on the day of the dinner gathering, as they were leaving, Choi Woo-jin had invited him to their hospital because the cat that had scratched him was in even worse condition than Tofu. Lee Jun had accepted without hesitation. He hadn't realized that the cat was Sweet Pea. Upon hearing this, Silverline bluntly remarked, "Seems like that human isn't very skilled," causing Choi Woo-jin to sneeze inexplicably. This was a beagle with eyes as clear as a college student's. However, his owner found him to be a real headache. She would even rather work overtime at the company than go home and face him, simply because every time she returned, the dog would make a mess of the house. That day, the girl returned home and nervously opened the door. She called out, "Yuzu, I'm home." However, before she could finish her sentence, Yuzu came rushing out of the room and tackled her with a flying headbutt. Yuzu jumped on the girl and showered her with affection, but the girl was only thinking about tidying up the room as soon as possible. However, to the girl's surprise, the living room and kitchen were spotless. Even the bathroom and trash can were clean. The girl squatted down, petted Yuzu, and praised him. "Why were you so well-behaved today?" She then pulled a feather from him. The girl looked at the feather. Suddenly, she had a bad feeling. Yuzu, beside her, had already shrunk back guiltily. She rushed to the bedroom to check. The mess inside instantly made her understand. This was the goose-down duvet she had just bought. Seeing Yuzu turn his head and pretend to be innocent, the girl couldn't stand it anymore. She chased after Yuzu, threatening to make him look good. But Yuzu was happy, thinking his owner wanted to play a chasing game with him. The next day, the girl took pictures of the disastrous state of the room and complained to the other dog owners about Yuzu's destructive behavior. Although their dogs often chewed things up, they had never seen anything this bad. For a while, no one knew how to correct Yuzu's behavior. Only Peanut's mom thought of the Woof Woof Animal Hospital and strongly suggested that the girl take Yuzu for a checkup. Meanwhile, the Woof Woof Patrol also started a meeting. The dogs asked each other what Yuzu had done wrong to make his owner angry. Yuzu looked dejected. "Can I greet her when she comes home?" The other dogs immediately said he must greet her. "The owner will be happy to see that. But my owner doesn't seem to like it." Little Meng didn't believe him at all. His mom was always happy when he greeted her. However, Peanut had already guessed the truth. He earnestly asked Yuzu if he had done something wrong, that if you didn't do anything and just waited for your owner to come home, she shouldn't be angry. Yuzu suddenly realized, but he was just playing with his owner's things, and tearing things up made him feel comfortable. Hearing about tearing things up, the other dogs were shocked. Peanut scolded Yuzu for being so inconsiderate. Of course, your owner will want to teach you a lesson if you do that. Yuzu felt very guilty, but his owner never played with him. So, Yuzu pulled on the dog owner who was still talking. The girl could only hastily excuse herself. Then Yuzu took his owner running around the park, making the other dog owners and dogs sweat. It didn't take long for the girl to become exhausted, but Yuzu in her hand was still full of energy. She had only wanted a dog to take pictures with or enjoy leisurely walks. But now, it was like she had been forced to become a marathon runner. Just then, Yuzu smelled something. It was the pet snacks in the shop window that attracted Yuzu. The girl was grateful that Yuzu had finally stopped. When she came to her senses, she realized this place was the Woof Woof Animal Hospital that the other owners had just mentioned. The girl looked at Yuzu and decided to go in and ask about the situation. She carefully pushed open the door. Sula immediately came forward to greet her warmly. Learning that she wanted to consult about her pet, Sula asked her to line up behind the dark-haired man. But the man let the girl consult first. This was the scent Yuzu had smelled on the man. When Yuzu got close to him, he bit the man's butt. The girl hurriedly apologized to the man, but he didn't mind. Instead, he asked the girl why she came to this hospital. Hearing that it was because the director here was very good, a smile appeared on the man's lips. "I'm also very interested in the director here." For a moment, the girl was attracted by his unique temperament. It wasn't until Lee Jun arrived that she came back to her senses and bowed to greet Lee Jun. Then the girl told Lee Jun that her beagle was always causing trouble at home. Because she really didn't know how to correct his behavior, she wanted to ask for advice. While the girl was talking to Lee Jun, Yuzu was attracted by a flying insect in the air. Fortunately, the girl grabbed his leash in time, preventing a disaster. However, Lee Jun waved his hand and told the girl to let go of the leash. This would be a good opportunity to observe Yuzu's behavior. He untied Yuzu's leash. Freed from restraint, Yuzu became extremely excited, wagging his tail nonstop. "Doctor, can I play here?" With Lee Jun's permission, Yuzu immediately started chasing the little flying insect. But after some observation, Lee Jun found that Yuzu was just more active than the average dog and didn't have any particularly serious abnormalities. The girl explained that maybe the walk was the reason Yuzu was so calm. Usually, at home, he's much more rambunctious. Lee Jun guessed that Yuzu was well-behaved after releasing some pent-up energy. He asked the girl how often she takes Yuzu for a walk. The girl thought for a moment. About once or twice a week. Lee Jun was stunned. He reminded the girl that Yuzu is a beagle. Compared to other dog breeds of similar size, beagles have a much higher muscle mass. They need a high level of activity, like athletes. And that's why beagles are called beagle demons. Simply put, it's like a big eater who usually has 6 meals a day is now only allowed 1 meal a day. After Lee Jun's vivid explanation, the girl finally understood the seriousness of the problem. It turned out that Yuzu made a mess of the house every day because he had no outlet for his energy. Lee Jun then suggested that the girl play with Yuzu for at least 3 hours every day. The girl was immediately dumbfounded. She gets home from work very late every day. If she had to add housework and walking Yuzu, she wouldn't have any free time at all. Looking at the frantically energetic Yuzu beside her, the girl wondered if she should give him to someone else. Yuzu immediately stopped what he was doing and looked at the girl and the doctor with worry. Did my sister just say she wants to give me to someone else because I'm always causing her trouble? But I only act like that because I love her so much. I hate her. Without giving Lee Jun and the girl a chance to react, the heartbroken Yuzu dashed towards the door. Seeing Yuzu about to run out of the hospital, the girl anxiously shouted Yuzu's name. Just then, someone suddenly grabbed Yuzu by the collar and lifted him up, and it was the man but Yuzu had bitten earlier. You can't just run off like that. At this moment, the girl and Lee Jun rushed over. The girl thanked the man for catching Yuzu. She hadn't expected him to suddenly run off. The man said it was all right, then warned the girl he seems to be frightened. Yuzu trembled in the girl's arms. I'm going to another home again. This pitiful whimper was keenly picked up by Lee Jun. So he asked the girl if Yuzu had ever been given away before. Learning that the girl was Yuzu's third owner, Lee Jun instantly understood. Yuzu had misunderstood and thought he was going to be abandoned. Suddenly heartbroken, Yuzu started whining. Sister, don't send me away. I really love you. The surrounding people started whispering, making the girl flustered. Lee Jun looked serious. He asked the girl to join him in the examination room for a chat. Later, Lee Jun also saw the shredded down comforter. He had an idea. Does Yuzu get particularly anxious when separated from his guardian? Judging by the symptoms, I suspect he has separation anxiety. Because Yuzu has a strong fear of being abandoned, he makes a mess of the room to try to alleviate his anxiety. To solve this problem, both the guardian and Yuzu need to work together. The most important thing is to reassure Yuzu that his guardian will always come back. It's best to increase the time spent with him. The girl looked troubled. This was her first time owning a dog. Although her love for Yuzu was genuine, she really couldn't spare any time to care for him after work. That darn boss always made the employees work overtime. Lee Jun thought for a moment, then tried taking Yuzu for a walk for an hour every morning. It might be tiring, but try making this change first. Hearing the word walk, Yuzu's ears perked up. He reverted to his usual affectionate self, nuzzling against the girl. It's so great to be able to go for a walk with sister. Seeing Yuzu's happy expression, the girl smiled. I didn't realize just hearing about a walk could make him so happy. She promised Yuzu, sister will take better care of you from now on. Lee Jun told the girl she could come back to the hospital if any other problems arose. The girl looked determined. I'll do my best, doctor. Even Yuzu responded enthusiastically. Their positive attitudes made Lee Jun feel relieved. Meanwhile, Sula was attending to a client. Sorry to keep you waiting. Are you here for a consultation? It's not like that. I just want to buy some snacks, he said, using his foot to measure from here to here. All the snacks in between. Pack them all up for me. This domineering shopping style made Zhang Sula freeze on the spot. It wasn't until her companion nudged her that she reacted with a scream. Not long ago, Lee Jun had seen Yuzu and his guardian off. He was just about to greet the next patient when Zhang Sula suddenly burst into the treatment room. Director, I think you need to come out and take a look. A bewildered Lee Jun followed Zhang Sula to find the man and asked what had happened. Zhang Sula explained to Lee Jun, this customer wants to buy all the snacks displayed in the hospital. Hearing about such a large order, Lee Jun cautiously probed. So, it seems you keep a lot of pets? The man nodded. About 50 dogs. Both of them froze on the spot after hearing this. The man then added, that's not even counting the cats. Lee Jun and Zhang Sula were both shocked. After all, keeping 50 pets is no easy task. Lee Jun's expression gradually turned serious. He suspected the man might be from a large-scale puppy breeding farm. Lee Jun didn't approve of this kind of commercially driven puppy breeding, so he asked the man why he cared for so many pets. The man didn't understand what Lee Jun meant by asking this. Then he seemed to understand and explained with a smile that he wasn't a suspicious person, just a sponsor. Or rather, it was a kind of dedication. He was buying these snacks for a stray animal shelter. He spoke with a somewhat sinister smile, which made Lee Jun and Zhang Sula even more cautious. They felt this tough character didn't look like someone who would be involved in stray animal protection. Zhang Sula was thinking about how to get rid of the man when she suddenly heard him mention home yard shelter. She couldn't help but cry out. Wasn't that where she used to volunteer? Zhang Sula, do you know this place? Yes, they even gave me a souvenir after I finished volunteering. Suddenly, Lee Yun noticed. The man was pulling something out of his pocket with a sinister look, causing both Lee Jun and Zhang Sula to take 2 steps back. However, the man handed Lee Jun 2 small videos. These are the souvenirs Zhang Sula had just mentioned. After clearing up the misunderstanding, Lee Jun and Zhang Sula saw the big customer off. At closing time, Zhang Sula waved goodbye to Lee Jun, but Lee Jun plopped back down in his chair, bending down to check the snacks in the drawer. These were cans of food he had specially prepared for cats. Then Lee Jun took the cans to the park and called out for the cats. Seeing it was Lee Jun, the kittens greeted him warmly. Doctor, is there something you need? Because Silverline had told them about Li Jun treating Sweet Pea, they weren't worried he would hurt them. Li Jun held up the bag in his hand. "I brought you some snacks." The kittens were overjoyed. The three of them gathered around the bowl and ate with relish. Li Jun looked around and asked where Silverline was. The kittens immediately stopped eating. The canned food in the bowl suddenly lost its appeal. They stammered, telling Li Jun the captain should be patrolling the neighborhood. But the captain hasn't been back for more than 10 days. Although they said they believed nothing would happen to the captain, Li Jun clearly sensed their worry for Silverline. After all, the park cats were still young and very dependent on Silverline. Li Jun comforted the kittens, saying Silverline would definitely return. The next day, Li Jun asked the Woof Woof Patrol about Silverline's projects. Xiaoming also realized she hadn't seen Silverline for a long time. Seeing that none of the dogs had seen Silverline, Li Jun felt a little disappointed. He had no choice but to ask the Woof Woof Patrol to help search. Of course, the dogs wouldn't refuse Li Jun's request. They even said they would ask their other good friends to help look for Silverline. Just when Li Jun was at his wit's end, Yuzu's guardian walked in, holding Yuzu. The guardian excitedly reported Yuzu's progress to Li Jun these days. Yuzu has been getting into trouble much less often, and he's been eating well. It's all thanks to the doctor. Taking this opportunity, I'd like to increase his morning walk time. Hearing the guardian say his treatment was effective, Li Jun was also very happy. While the girl was picking out pet supplies for Yuzu, Li Jun crouched beside Yuzu, playing with him. Suddenly, he asked Yuzu if he had seen a long-haired gray cat. Yuzu knew the long-haired gray cat referred to Silverline. "Brother, did you see him on your way here?" Yuzu thought for a moment, and no. "But when I was walking with my sister, I smelled him." Li Jun hurriedly asked for the location. Yuzu's mind raced. He remembered that day. He was taking a walk with his sister, silly as usual. But suddenly he smelled something. His usually astute self immediately recognized it as Silverline's scent. He was just about to rush over and greet him, but his sister yanked on his leash. Under the slight pressure from his sister, Yuzu couldn't go. Now, recounting this to Li Jun, Yuzu was still feeling glum. As Li Jun listened to Yuzu's description, worry crept across his face. The place Yuzu mentioned was not far from the park. Being so close, why hadn't Silverline returned? He suddenly had a bad feeling. Thinking of this, he asked the girl if he could go for a walk with Yuzu. The girl's face lit up with delight. The director was actually taking Yuzu for a walk himself. Li Jun was just about to leave when Sula shot him a death glare from behind. "Director, what if a client comes back? Even though there aren't many clients right now. Everyone comes here for your treatment. What are you doing leaving?" Seeing Sula's reproach escalating, Li Jun could only offer an apology and rush out of the hospital with Yuzu. Ignoring Sula's protests, he closed the hospital and took Yuzu out to search for Silverline. Li Jun finally understood the power of a beagle's nose. Catching the scent, Yuzu suddenly accelerated, pulling Li Jun, who was holding the leash. The powerful force sent Li Jun skidding across the ground. Afterward, Li Jun arrived at the destination, panting, following Yuzu. He looked around. It was a residential area, not a place where Silverline would likely linger. Suddenly, a car sped past. Li Jun noticed there were more cars here than he expected, and they were driving fast. He couldn't help but worry about why Silverline hadn't returned. Just then, Yuzu nudged Li Jun. Silverline's scent is stronger in the alley. So, the man and dog went deeper into the alley. Li Jun prayed silently that his suspicions were wrong. When Yuzu reached the area where the scent was strongest, he stopped. This is where Silverline's scent is the strongest. Then Li Jun spotted a cat's head peeking out of a cardboard box nearby. He nervously called out, "Silverline," but he found a small, pitch-black kitten in the box. Just when Li Jun thought Silverline wasn't there, he was shocked by what he saw next. Silverline was lying on the ground, covered in blood. Li Jun rushed over to check on him. Yuzu was too frightened to move. Looking at the motionless Silverline, Li Jun reached out a trembling hand and placed it on Silverline's abdomen. Feeling Silverline's faint heartbeat, Li Jun felt a surge of relief. He was thankful that Silverline still had a faint breath. But judging by the condition of Silverline's leg, Silverline's femur was completely shattered. There was also the possibility of ruptured internal organs and other complications. The cause of all this was clearly the cars speeding through the residential area. Although Li Jun desperately wanted to take Silverline back to the hospital for treatment, moving him rashly would worsen his injuries. So he called his senior, Luo He, and asked him to drive over and help. Soon the car stopped in front of the hospital. Lee Jun carried Silverline inside. Sula had been waiting. She told Lee Jun that she had prepared everything and the operating room was ready. After a brief exchange, Lee Jun rushed to the operating room, carrying Silverline. Yuzu's guardian, seeing this scene, couldn't help but pale. He could even smell the blood in the air. It seemed like a very serious accident. Arriving at the operating room, Lee Jun discussed with Luo how to treat Silverline. Silverline's organs weren't injured, but his blood pressure was very low and he was dehydrated. So Luo suggested taking x-rays first and then giving Silverline fluids. But Lee Jun thought there wasn't any time to spare. He wanted to operate immediately. Luo was startled by Lee Jun's bold idea. But Lee Jun insisted and asked Luo to assist him with the surgery. After getting Luo's agreement, Lee Jun began the operation. Lee Jun was the lead surgeon and Luo assisted. Meanwhile, the trio, Zheng, Yuzu, and Sula, sat silently outside the operating room, waiting. Yuzu was the first to break the silence, whimpering sadly over Silverline's misfortune. Then the man asked Sula how long the stray cat would need to be hospitalized. Sula estimated that Silverline wouldn't be able to move for at least 3 weeks. Hearing this, the man suggested sending Silverline to an animal shelter. It was indeed a good suggestion, but Sula believed that knowing Lee Jun, he would definitely take care of Silverline himself. And to be able to check on Silverline at any time, he would definitely lay down some foam pads and spend the night at the hospital. Sula waved her hand. That's just how the director is. He doesn't like leaving animals alone. The man listened to Sula's description, the corners of his mouth turning up slightly. He had a good impression of such a responsible person. Just then, footsteps approached, causing the three outside the ward to turn their heads. Lee Jun took off his mask and announced to everyone that the surgery was successful. All that's left is to observe him during his hospitalization. As soon as he finished speaking, Yuzu's guardian's eyes welled up. Then they burst into tears. They had been really worried that something would happen to Silverline and hadn't even gone home, waiting until late at night. Sula stepped forward to comfort them, but the moment her hand touched theirs, Yuzu's guardian's emotions instantly transferred to Sula. The two of them, holding Yuzu between them, cried together, eventually cry a small pond. Lee Jun was also helpless about this and could only let them vent their emotions. The man, who had witnessed everything from beginning to end, had a smile on his face that, "It seems I've finally found the right person." After seeing Yuzu's guardian off, the man stopped Lee Jun, handed him a business card, and asked if he was interested in volunteering. Lee Jun took it and saw it was a business card for my home courtyard shelter. Although Lee Jun really wanted to participate in such activities, besides taking care of the clinic, he didn't have any spare time. He was just about to refuse when the man interrupted him. There are many sick animals in the shelter, and comparatively, there aren't enough medical personnel. So I hope you can come and take a look. The man pleaded as he moved closer, finally standing right in front of Lee Jun. Having no other choice, Lee Jun agreed to volunteer. Hearing Lee Jun's agreement, the man's eyes lit up and he grabbed Lee Jun's hands tightly in thanks. Sula was also full of admiration for Lee Jun. The director's work at the hospital is so busy, and he's still making time to volunteer. While Lee Jun and the man were talking, Luo walked out, yawning. He said goodbye to Lee Jun, saying he had to go back to the hospital for a meeting. However, before he could finish, his eyes widened in surprise at the man in front of him. Namgung Hyun, the representative of Namgung Construction Group, was actually here. Seeing the man about to leave, Luo hurriedly chased after him, wanting to ask what was going on. But the man just made a keep-it-quiet gesture, leaving Luo confused. Only after the man left the hospital did Luo come back to his senses. He told Lee Jun he had something urgent to attend to and then ran off after the man. Outside, Namgung Hyun took off his baseball cap and fixed his hair. He suddenly noticed the bewildered Luo coming again. Resigned, he told him to get to the point that Mr. Namgung Hyun, I don't quite understand the situation. Do you know Lee Jun? Namgung Hyun paused slightly after hearing this. Rather than saying we know each other, it's more like I'm still getting to know him. He then asked Luo not to reveal his identity. After all, sometimes to truly understand someone, you need to hide what you have. Luo he agreed with surprise. After all, the other party was a representative of the Namgung Construction Group. Unexpectedly, they would personally come for such a small animal hospital. He subconsciously thought the other party did this because of Li Jun's excellent talent. Since school, Li Jun had been the elite of their veterinary program. His current skills were even more remarkable. During the surgery, just now, Li Jun single-handedly handled all the details. Every step demonstrated super concentration and meticulous technique. Luo, merely stood by, holding the light for Li Jun. For a moment, Luo, questioned his own existence. Since Li Jun had such outstanding abilities, why did he need his help with the surgery? Soon, it was closing time for the Woof Woof Animal Hospital. Not long after Zhang Sula left the hospital, Li Jun realized it was quite late. He took off his coat, preparing to leave. Just as he was about to turn off the lights, he suddenly noticed several cats clinging to the window, acting suspiciously. Before he could figure out what was going on, he heard the cats pawing at the glass, wanting to see their leader. Li Jun explained to the cats that Silverline was injured and couldn't see them right now. The clever little orange cat immediately understood Li Jun's meaning. So, the leader is all right. It asked that he's all right. Silverline just needs to rest and recover, Li Jun reassured them. The cat's worried hearts finally eased. They huddled together, purring with relief for their leader's safety. Then, Li Jun asked the cats how they knew about the incident and received an unexpected answer. It turned out Yuzu, on his way home, had used what little time he had to spread the news to the park cats. Li Jun then worried that Silverline might not be able to return to care for the cats for a long time and wondered if it would affect them. The little orange cat puffed out its chest, assuring him they'd already learned survival skills from their leader and that Li Jun needn't worry. The confident statement put Li Jun at ease. He didn't hear the orange cat's quiet mumbling. In truth, they had already prepared themselves for the possibility of losing their leader. The cats then solemnly expressed their gratitude to Li Jun, offering him carefully prepared mice and small fish as a reward. Li Jun accepted their gifts and told them they could visit Silverline any time in the future, but not all at once, only one at a time. The cats agreed and bid Li Jun farewell. After seeing the cats off, Silverline woke up from his unconsciousness. Li Jun hurriedly asked him how he was feeling. Hearing Li Jun's voice, Silverline tremblingly tried to get up, but collapsed back down with a whimper. Li Jun explained that he needed to wait for the bones to heal before he could move normally, and that he should be patient for a while. Silverline didn't understand what Li Jun was saying. His small eyes glanced behind him, and he discovered his two hind legs were bandaged like chicken drumsticks. Frightened, his fur stood on end, and he began to yowl. "Where am I? Get me out of here." He frantically pawed at the glass, looking utterly pathetic. Li Jun told him he was in the hospital and that his legs were bandaged to prevent further injury. Upon hearing he was in the hospital, Silverline calmed down. After all, the hospital was the place that had saved Sweet Pea and Naoim. Silverline nodded obediently, indicating he understood. But he immediately remembered his companions in the park. He had been gone for so long, they must be worried. Li Jun reassured Silverline, "The little orange cat just came to visit. They all know about you." "What nonsense are you talking about? My companions can't do without me. Let me go. It's difficult for you to move now, and your companions are worried about you. But they also want you to recover properly. Until you return, they will take care of each other and live well." Silverline was struck by these words, his mind filled with the thought that his companions didn't need him. He felt dejected, believing that now, as a leader with injured legs, he was useless. Li Jun noticed Silverline's despondency and comforted him, saying his legs would heal. Suddenly, Li Jun stopped talking, nervously rubbing his hands, looking like he had something to ask Silverline. He asked Silverline if he wanted to live with him for a while. Hearing this, Silverline was truly furious. Silverline thought Li Jun was looking down on him. He hadn't stooped so low as to have to cozy up to a human. His intense reaction left Li Jun at a loss for what to do. Li Jun hurriedly explained that it was a misunderstanding. The hospital room was stuffy, and he just wanted Silverline to come home with him. He didn't mean to imply he was adopting him. It was just about commuting together. Actually, Silverline thought it was a good idea. After all, there was nothing he could do back at the park in his current state. So he warned Li Jun I agree to go home with you, but you must always remember, I am Captain Silverline. I'm only putting myself out and enduring this inconvenience because my leg is injured. His haughty declaration made Lee Jun chuckle. At least he'd finally persuaded Silverline. Back at home, Silverline immediately forgot his tough guy act. He transformed into a well-behaved and obedient kitty, sitting perfectly still on a cushion. It was a cushion Lee Jun had bought especially for Silverline. But when Lee Jun asked him if he liked it, the little tsundere blushed and retorted that he didn't like soft things at all. Lee Jun knew he didn't mean it. He told Silverline to let him know if he needed anything. After all, they should look after each other while living together. Silverline was about to say he didn't need anything when his stomach rumbled loudly in protest. Embarrassed, he covered his stomach and explained that it must be a stomachache. Lee Jun then prepared some shredded chicken for Silverline. Silverline lowered his head to eat, but the Elizabethan collar around his neck got in the way. He tried several times to reach the chicken, but couldn't. Lee Jun, oblivious, assumed Silverline didn't like raw chicken breast. This infuriated Silverline, causing him to erupt in a tirade. He ordered Lee Jun to immediately remove the thing from his head. Lee Jun explained that it was to prevent him from touching his injured leg and couldn't be taken off. Silverline was about to lose it. This two-legged creature was treating him like a clueless 3-month-old kitten. With that, he used both paws with all his might. Right in front of Lee Jun, he ripped the annoying contraption off. By the time he finished eating, Lee Jun was still lamenting the fate of the Elizabethan collar. But Silverline couldn't care less. He let out a satisfied purr and, spotting the cushion, ignored the distraught Lee Jun and hopped onto it. Since it was prepared especially for him, he couldn't disregard the human's good intentions. He just wouldn't let his guard down around him. Before he knew it, Silverline felt drowsy and fell asleep on the cushion, even starting to snore. Seeing this, Lee Jun realized Silverline considered this a safe space. So he got a blanket and covered him with it, then sat beside him and watched him sleep. But this peaceful scene made Lee Jun feel a pang of sadness. It reminded him of when he used to sleep with Dowdu. He stayed there until the next day. Silverline yawned and woke up, used to a life of wandering. This was the first time he'd slept so soundly. Then, he suddenly noticed Lee Jun sleeping on the floor beside him. He didn't understand why Lee Jun was sleeping there looking so pathetic. He heard him mumbling, so cold. Silverline was momentarily speechless. He remembered the kittens he used to care for. Silverline snuggled into Lee Jun's arms. This was how he used to keep the kittens warm. Well, since the kittens didn't need his care right now, he would take care of Lee Jun. He considered it repaying his kindness. With a steady supply of chicken breast and the ability to sleep in until he woke up naturally, Silverline's leg bones healed quickly. He strutted around the hospital, acting like he owned the place. After all, only an animal could truly understand the needs of other animals, and even human clients were easy for him to handle. Suddenly, the doorbell chimed. It was Nangong Sien, who had come to invite Lee Jun to a volunteer event at the stray animal shelter. Upon arriving at the animal shelter for the first time, Lee Jun was taken aback. The shelter was one of the largest in the country. Although Lee Jun had agreed to volunteer, he felt quite apprehensive. This was the first time Lee Jun had seen so many furry children. He was worried about hearing complaints from them. Nangong Sien noticed Lee Jun's uneasy expression and asked him what was wrong. Lee Jun smiled and explained that he was a little nervous while inwardly cheering himself on. This was the ability Dodo had given him, and he should use it to save more animals. Just then, the receptionist noticed Lee Jun in the distance and enthusiastically went up to greet him. But she stopped mid-sentence. She found the two men before her incredibly handsome. The combination of one tall and one short, one sturdy and one slender, left her frozen in place. The girl only snapped back to reality when Lee Jun asked her what he should do. She then led him to the volunteer area. On the way, they passed the building housing the stray animals. The girl invited Lee Jun to go inside for a look. As soon as the door opened, a chorus of barks and meows reached Lee Jun's ears. The receptionist smiled and told Lee Jun that the furry children were so lively because they were welcoming him. But Lee Jun knew they weren't happy at all. Some of the cries were from missing their owners, some from injuries and pain, and some were from a dislike of humans. Although Li Jun had anticipated this, actually hearing the animal's thoughts still left him feeling a bit down. He was just a veterinarian volunteering. He couldn't solve the root of their problems. The girl's concerned voice brought Li Jun back to the present. He resolved to do his best during this volunteer activity. After arriving at the site, the staff explained the day's tasks to the volunteers. They needed to neuter 30 dogs. There were no additional surgeries scheduled, but if any other significant symptoms were noticed during the neutering procedures, they needed to report them. Li Jun was thinking about performing additional surgeries on the animals. To do so, he would have to communicate with the shelter beforehand, as preoperative fasting was necessary and postoperative recovery space would be required. Suddenly, an idea came to him. He wished he could create an environment where all the animals could receive proper care. The chatter of the people around him caught his attention. Because it was spring, the number of dogs was increasing, and they could only try their best to perform as many neuters as possible. As they talked, the two people's bodies swayed back and forth, making Li Jun nervous about the sheer number of dogs. Upon arriving at the operating area, a milky white puppy asked Li Jun, "Doctor, what are we going to do? Can you play with me for a bit?" Its adorable demeanor made it hard for Li Jun to concentrate. He could only coax the puppy, saying he'd play after he was finished. He glanced at the doctor beside him. This look left both Li Jun and the puppy stunned. Without a word, the other doctor injected the dog in his hands. "I guess it okay to just suddenly give them a shot like that?" Hearing this, the veterinarian scoffed. "There are too many little ones to operate on. If we don't do it this way, we won't finish all the surgeries today." Helpless, Li Jun could only continue to comfort the puppy in his arms, thinking that although the other doctor might be a bit careless due to the pressure of the workload, he must be kind-hearted to be volunteering. Then Li Jun heard someone calling him. It was the receptionist. She looked anxious. "Could you come and help?" Following the girl, he arrived at the scene. A large yellow dog was barking at everyone, scaring the staff away. The dog growled, "None of you come any closer or I'll bite." The yellow dog was scheduled to be neutered that day, but for some reason, it seemed furious. Only Li Jun realized the dog wasn't angry, but terrified of humans. Seeing this, everyone was about to give up on the yellow dog and move on to other animals. Li Jun quickly stopped them. "Could you let me try to calm him down?" After all, he didn't know when he'd be able to volunteer again. Wanting to help as much as possible, Li Jun tried to talk to the dog, but his hand, reaching out to pet the dog, seemed threatening to the frightened animal. It bit down hard, making the receptionist cover her mouth in shock. Afterwards, the girl bandaged Li Jun's hand. She felt incredibly guilty. It was all because she had asked for his help that he got hurt. Li Jun reassured her that it was okay, that he had been careless. But the more he said this, the more guilt the girl felt. Finally, he abruptly stood up and took full responsibility. He told Li Jun that Da Huang had been abused by a male guardian in the past, so he was very afraid of men. Hearing this, Li Jun recalled the confrontation he just had with Da Huang. Da Huang's body was covered with wounds of varying sizes. Thinking that Da Huang had been brought to the shelter for reporting the abuse, Li Jun felt that Da Huang's behavior was understandable. But then the girl interrupted him. Da Huang wasn't brought in for reporting abuse. These words completely confused Li Jun. One night, while the staff were working late, they suddenly heard a knock at the door. They were puzzled as to why someone would come so late. Opening the door, they saw a dying yellow dog. The staff immediately carried Da Huang to the treatment room. After examining him, they found that not a single bone in Da Huang's body was intact. Considering Da Huang's aggressive behavior towards men, everyone agreed that Da Huang's previous owner was male. Li Jun felt saddened upon hearing about Da Huang's situation. Just as he was about to continue trying to get Da Huang to accept him, the girl stopped Li Jun. Da Huang's adoption listing was about to expire, and she hoped he would be adopted by a kind person. Li Jun listened silently. The stray animal shelter, as its name suggested, was a place to care for abandoned animals until they were adopted by new guardians. However, new stray animals appeared every month, every year. Therefore, those who weren't adopted for a long time would eventually be euthanized, and medium-sized dogs, like Da Huang, who bite, were often difficult to adopt. Li Jun forced a smile. He would try his best to calm Da Huang down. After arriving at the stray dog area, Li Jun tried every way to communicate with Da Huang, but the dog remained indifferent. Helpless, Li Jun could only tell him, "If you continue like this, it will be hard for anyone to adopt you." This finally got a reaction from Da Huang. He barked furiously at Li Jun. "I don't want to go to just anyone's home. I won't go even if I die, so you don't have to worry about me anymore." His self-defeating attitude left Li Jun at a loss. In the end, Li Jun had to leave empty-handed. He hadn't made any progress that day, except for angering De Huang. Then Li Jun thought of Nangong Xian, wondering if he knew anything about De Huang. He went to Nangong Xian's office, but was told that he had left temporarily for work. That evening, Li Jun went for a walk, but his mind was still preoccupied with finding a solution for De Huang. After all, De Huang didn't have much time left. Suddenly, he noticed a person in black sneaking in. Out of curiosity, Li Jun followed. The person was actually there to visit De Huang. Stroking De Huang's warm back, the person in black revealed a satisfied smile. De Huang remained docile this time. A sudden sound startled the person in black. "Are you a volunteer here?" Li Jun nodded. The person immediately stood up, using their hood to cover their face, and prepared to leave. De Huang, sensing something, barked at Li Jun in warning. But the barks soon turned into whimpers, and finally, tears began to flow. Seeing this, Li Jun instantly realized the person's identity. De Huang's guardian. "Please wait." Li Jun hurried after them. Hearing this, the person in black stopped. "You're De Huang's guardian, right?" Li Jun carefully probed. He then saw that beneath the hood was a frail woman with wounds all over her face. The woman was subjected to domestic violence from her husband every day. Even though she had cleaned the kitchen spotless, it still became a reason for her husband to abuse her. Her pale face was marked with red bruises. To protect his mother, De Huang, despite his fear, shielded her and, with a trembling body, growled at the man. But this didn't stop the man. Instead, it made him even more violent. He grabbed a golf club and beat the woman and De Huang. Every time this happened, De Huang would get new wounds. But even so, when facing his mother, De Huang would still wag his tail happily. No matter how the woman tried to stop him, De Huang would always protect her. And to thank De Huang for stepping in, she would always buy him snacks. However, seeing De Huang enjoying the food, the woman felt increasingly guilty. It was all because of her that De Huang was suffering along with her. Finally, one day, the man beat De Huang within an inch of his life. The woman frantically grabbed the man, tried to stop him. But the man, with an icy stare, shoved her away. "Oh, you want to be beaten too?" Intense fear instantly flooded her heart, scaring her into silence. She could only watch as the man vented his anger on De Huang. The sound of the club echoed again and again. De Huang's whimpers grew weaker and weaker. In his final moments, De Huang's gaze remained fixed on his mom, worried that the man would hurt her. Seeing this, the woman couldn't bear it any longer. Dragging her battered body, she held the dying De Huang in her arms, constantly apologizing to him. "I'm sorry. It's all my fault, Mom's fault. Please, you have to live." At the animal shelter, the woman recounted this experience to Li Jun. He knew his actions were equivalent to abandonment, but for him, this was the best he could do to protect his child. Faced with the woman's apologies, Li Jun didn't know how to comfort her. He simply asked if she planned to continue living in that home. The woman wiped away her tears. She had recently decided to leave him. Originally, she planned to return to her parents' home. After seeing her mother agreed with her decision. However, her mother was also seriously ill, and her prognosis wasn't good. Considering the woman's family situation, Li Jun understood that adoption was the best option for De Huang. But De Huang refused to accept anyone else, making Li Jun worry about whether he could persuade him. "I'm sorry to bother you." Seemingly sensing Li Jun's difficulty, the woman bowed in apology. Li Jun quickly waved his hand, assuring her that he would find a way to help De Huang find a good home. "Lucky?" Li Jun was momentarily puzzled, but then he heard the woman's explanation. De Huang's original name was Lucky. She chose this name, hoping he would have lucky things happen to him every day. Li Jun smiled and replied, "It's a good name." Then the woman turned and started rummaging through her things, handing Li Jun a black bag. "These are some things I bought for Lucky. I hope you can pass them on to him." As soon as Li Jun approached Lucky's cage, Lucky growled at him. "What did you do to my mom? If you hurt her, I won't let you off the hook." Seeing how protective Lucky was of the woman, Li Jun felt a pang of sadness when the woman took off her hat that moment. The reason Lucky cried was because he saw the wounds on his mom's face. He was heartbroken because he wasn't there and his dad had hit her again. Li Jun struggled to tell Lucky, "Mom won't be coming back anymore. Are you only staying here because you're worried about her?" Lucky remained silent, just listening quietly. He knew that his mom brought him here to keep him safe. But just thinking about her smiling at him despite her injuries, he couldn't stand by and do nothing. He then made up his mind that "I have to go back to Mom. I have to protect her. The next moment, he heard unexpected news. Mom won't be living with Dad anymore. This meant Lucky no longer needed to worry about his mom. However, because of his mom's family situation, she couldn't keep him. Lee Jun initially thought Lucky would become emotional upon hearing this, but he simply asked, "Will Mom be happy now? If so, then I can rest easy." His understanding demeanor brought tears to Lee Jun's eyes. "Yes, your mom will be very happy from now on." Afterward, Lee Jun prepared a lot of dog treats for Lucky. "Tell me anything you want to eat, Lucky, and I'll get it for you." Seeing Lucky didn't react, Lee Jun guessed there wasn't anything he wanted to eat in there. "What do you want to eat most? I can go buy it nearby. I want to eat something long and soft." Hearing this, Lee Jun instantly remembered that when Lucky's mom left, she had given him this snack, saying it was Lucky's favorite. He wanted to buy Lucky something better, but being short on money, he could only afford these treats. As expected, Lucky wagged his tail happily upon receiving the soft snack sticks. Although Lee Jun had worked as a veterinarian for a long time and knew cases like De Huang's weren't uncommon, every time he saw these gentle creatures suffer abuse, he still couldn't convince himself to be indifferent. After Lee Jun's comforting words and explanations, De Huang understood that his mom would have a happy life in the future. He instantly became a docile, obedient dog, leaving everyone present in disbelief, praising Lee Jun as a miracle working veterinarian. Although Lee Jun had received many thanks before, he still felt a little embarrassed. Suddenly, he heard a concerned voice, "Doctor, how's your hand?" It was the receptionist from before. "It's almost completely healed now." Hearing this, the girl was immediately relieved and thanked Lee Jun for helping De Huang open up. It's all thanks to Tony that everyone didn't give up on De Huang. Lee Jun wasn't complacent. He simply wanted to prevent De Huang from being euthanized. Then the girl remembered something and told Lee Jun that De Huang wouldn't actually be euthanized. Lee Jun was momentarily confused. He clearly remembered De Huang had been at the shelter for a long time and should have been on the euthanasia list. He then heard the girl explain that the shelter's new sponsor didn't allow euthanasia and also intended to adopt De Huang. Seeing Lee Jun's bewildered expression, the girl couldn't help but feel puzzled. Doesn't the doctor know him? It's Mr. Nangong Xian, the representative of Nangong Construction Group. Later, back at the shelter, Nangong Xian introduced himself to Lee Jun. Taking the impressive business card, Lee Jun was momentarily blinded by the title printed on it. He only snapped back to reality when he heard Nangong Xian ask how he'd managed to change the stubborn De Huang's attitude. Lee Jun replied, "De Huang is actually a very well-behaved and understanding dog. I didn't do anything special." Nangong Xian thought Lee Jun was being modest and didn't dwell on it. He then revealed his true purpose. He planned to open an unprecedented animal hospital and hoped Lee Jun would take the position of hospital director. For a moment, Lee Jun thought Nangong Xian was mistaken. "I'm already a director." Nangong Xian realized he hadn't explained clearly. He'd once had a dog that, due to old age, required extensive treatment at animal hospitals. From the small clinic in his neighborhood to larger animal hospitals and then to specialized veterinary hospitals, the constant travel had gradually tired his dog out. Unfortunately, his dog's condition worsened, requiring hospitalization. At the time, he couldn't stay with his dog constantly. This led him to an idea: to create a facility where guardians could also stay. Are you talking about inpatient rooms like in human hospitals? Exactly. I want to create a spacious, comfortable space. The hospital needs to be larger and more professional, and equipped for nighttime examinations and emergency surgeries. Lee Jun enthusiastically joined the discussion, suggesting dividing the hospital into zones for small, medium, and large animals. He even considered helping those struggling with treatment costs. However, he quickly realized he was getting carried away. Nangong Xian, listening to Lee Jun's idealistic vision, took a while to respond that I resonate with your ideas. But the most important thing for an animal hospital is the veterinarian. Lee Jun immediately offered to help. However, before Nangong Xian could celebrate, Lee Jun smiled and handed him a contact. "This is a friend of mine who runs several large hospitals. He should be very helpful." Lee Jun then suggested they go see De Huang. Arriving at De Huang's cage, Lee Jun enthusiastically approached and petted him, despite De Huang's impatience. He then said he wanted to introduce him to someone. The click of dress, shoes followed, and a sharply dressed, stern-faced man appeared before De Huang. He was instantly startled, remembering the man who had abused him. His defense mechanisms kicked in, and he growled a warning at Nangong Xian. Li Jun noticed Da Huang's strange behavior and was startled. He hurriedly tried to calm Da Huang down, telling him not to be so aggressive towards people. But Da Huang completely ignored Li Jun, baring his teeth and growling warnings at Nangongxian. However, Nangongxian wasn't angry. He had already learned about Da Huang's past from Li Jun, so he crouched down in front of Da Huang, hoping to ease his vigilance. Then he pulled something out from his inner pocket. Da Huang tensed up, thinking it was another stick to beat him with. However, he saw Nangongxian place a soft stick on the ground. He was a little surprised and unsure how to react. "This is your favorite treat, right? I heard all about it from Dr. Li Jun. You've been through so much, so it's natural for you to be afraid of me. But I truly want us to become family. I'm not like the person you imagine. Will you trust me just this once? If you accept me, I promise only good things will happen to you every day." In a daze, Da Huang thought he saw his mother smiling at him. He suddenly lunged at Nangongxian because this was what his mother had always wanted. Feeling Da Huang's warmth, Nangongxian's eyes filled with tenderness. "Thank you for trusting me. I promise this is a wise choice." A little while earlier, Li Jun had returned to the hospital from the shelter. Worried about Silvaline's injuries, he wanted to check on him immediately, but he couldn't find Silvaline anywhere. Suddenly, he felt a chill down his spine. "Director, you're back." Sula's gloomy voice came from behind him. Turning around, he was startled by Sula's haggard face. It turned out that Silvaline had been wanting to go outside this whole time. Unable to contact the director, Sula had no choice but to keep a constant watch on him at the hospital. Li Jun took out his phone to check. Sure enough, the message window was full of Sula's pleas for help. Li Jun couldn't stop the sweat from dripping down his face. He had accidentally set his phone to silent mode. Li Jun awkwardly apologized to Sula and then asked about Silvaline's whereabouts. Sula gestured with her hand. Perhaps from constantly watching Silvaline, she had developed a sort of spider sense for finding him. Li Jun angrily called out Silvaline's name, startling the little guy. "Didn't I tell you to stay put until you were better? Why are you making Manager Zhang so tired? Don't tell me you're trying to run away again." Huge alarm bells immediately went off in Silvaline's head. "What do you take me for?" But he quickly explained apologetically that he hadn't been to the park in a long time and was worried about his friends, that you miss Little Yellow and the others. Silvaline nodded. Li Jun glanced back at the sleeping Sula. "All right, let's go to the park and see your friends." Meanwhile, at the park, Little Yellow was lying on the grass, fast asleep. He dreamt that his big brother, Silvaline, had returned to the park, not only fully recovered from his injuries, but also hugging him and praising him. "Thank you for taking care of everyone while I was gone. You're truly worthy of my trust." Little Yellow was so moved that tears streamed down his face. He hugged Silvaline tightly, refusing to let go. However, his actions startled Little Orange and White. "That I'm not the captain." After waking up, Little Yellow seemed quite disappointed. Little Orange and White was puzzled. Everything had been fine recently, so why was Little Yellow acting like this today? Little Yellow couldn't explain it, but he felt like he could sense the captain's presence. Just then, a familiar voice caught the two cats' attention. They saw Li Jun walking towards them with a cat carrier. "Truly worthy of being my right-hand cats." For cats, smell is the second most important sense after hearing. Little Yellow seemed to have guessed something. Then, Silvaline emerged for the carrier. "I'm back. How is everyone doing?" Overjoyed to see their long-lost captain, Little Yellow and Little Orange and White both burst into tears. The other cats also poked their heads out. Then they rushed towards Silvaline, showering him with concern. As if that wasn't enough, they all reached out their paws and started petting Silvaline all over. Just as Silvaline was unsure how to handle his companion's enthusiasm, Little Yellow stopped the cats who were climbing all over Silvaline. "The captain hasn't fully recovered yet, so you can't be so rough with him." The cats reluctantly backed off and then apologized to Silvaline. "Sorry, Captain." Seeing the slightly awkward atmosphere, Li Jun quickly took out food to treat them. This was in-county special chicken meal that Silvaline always loved to eat at home. The kittens instantly started drooling with desire. But when the food was handed to Little Yellow, he remained very calm. At this moment, Li Jun suddenly noticed that Silvaline wasn't joining his companions. This was his favorite food. After all, Silvaline was currently observing his companions. Although everyone wanted to eat the food, not only were Little Yellow and Little Orange and White showing deference to each other, but even the other cats weren't fighting over it. Seeing this, Silvaline gave a satisfied smile. He then told his companions that he was going back to the hospital and that they shouldn't worry about his injury. Little Yellow asked Silvaline when he would return. Silverline thought for a moment, then gave an answer that surprised both the cats and Li Jun. He said he wouldn't be coming back. From now on, he would live with the humans who had adopted him. The cats looked nervous, thinking they had done something wrong. Silverline explained that wasn't the reason. He had just seen their behavior and realized they had grown up a lot. They were now considerate of each other. He no longer had anything to teach them. With that, Silverline offered the position of captain to Little Yellow. Everyone has become like this because of you. Can I trust you and entrust everything to you? Little Yellow, recalling how Silverline had taught him everything when he was little, had tears of joy welling up at his eyes. He accepted Silverline's entrustment. Sula arrived at the hospital in the morning. The exhaustion for being tormented by Silverline recently vanished completely. After greeting Li Jun, she suddenly felt puzzled. Why did the director come so early today? He's usually the one who opens up. Before Li Jun could explain, a dark shadow loomed over Sula. A tall, burly man appeared behind her. The huge difference in size made Sula break out in a cold sweat. Li Jun introduced the man to Sula as Dr. Go Ki-jin, a junior colleague from his veterinary school days. He asked Sula to teach him well, as Ki-jin was particularly weak with machines. Sula cautiously sized up Ki-jin, thinking he looked less like a doctor and more like a bodyguard. She wondered if he used to specialize in handling large animals. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. With Ki-jin around, the director might not be able to wander off so much. Looking at the hand Ki-jin extended, Sula excitedly shook it, thinking she could finally get some rest. However, reality immediately gave her a harsh wake-up call. Ki-jin broke a piece of hospital equipment almost immediately. Li Jun, upon learning this, didn't seem to mind. He felt that as long as Ki-jin had the desire to learn, it was fine. He then took everyone to the dessert shop. However, Sula was very worried. It would be terrible if Ki-jin treated small animals the same way. Li Jun glanced at Ki-jin, who was ordering at the counter, and explained that he was only a bit clumsy with machines. His knowledge of animals was actually quite solid. Since the director said so, Sula couldn't really argue. "Oh, who is this?" A voice attracted their attention. It was the owner of the dessert shop. After greeting the owner, he expressed his delight upon hearing about the new recruit at Wong Wong Animal Hospital. Because the more veterinarians the hospital had, the more reassured pet owners like him would be. Then Li Jun asked about Tong Tong's condition. The owner's expression immediately changed, and he nervously told Li Jun about Tong Tong's situation. When Ki-jin returned, carrying his milk crate cake, he found the seats empty. Meanwhile, Li Jun and Sula found Tang Tang. He was lying painfully on a cushion, unable to move. Li Jun asked the owner about Tong Tong's symptoms. A few days ago, the owner had taken Tang Tang for a walk. Upon returning, he noticed Tang Tang limping. He had planned to take him to the hospital today, but Tang Tang was now in too much pain to even stand. Hearing this, Li Jun realized the problem was tricky. Tang Tang was a Great Pyrenees, and their weight is typically around 50 kilograms. Transporting him back to the hospital would be difficult. Sula immediately offered to help Li Jun carry him, but Li Jun refused. Carrying him like that could injure Tang Tang further. Sula confidently flexed her bicep, that "I'm very strong too." However, Li Jun was still worried. After all, the moving process couldn't be rushed. Just then, Go Ki-jin arrived, having heard the commotion. "Why aren't you having dessert? What are you doing here?" Seeing Go Ki-jin's burly physique, Li Jun instantly brightened. He immediately asked Sula to return to the hospital to prepare for the X-ray. He and Ki-jin would handle things here. Back at the hospital, Sula was worried. Tang Tang probably weighed over 70 kilograms, and those two didn't seem reliable. Just as she hesitated about going back to help, the voices of the director and Ki-jin came from the doorway. The next moment, her jaw dropped at the sight before her. Tang Tang was being held securely in Go Ki-jin's arms. The dessert shop owner followed along, having done nothing. After putting Tang Tang down, Ki-jin looked relaxed. Li Jun, on the other hand, was drenched in sweat, despite only having walked back. Sula couldn't help but be speechless. After Sula left the treatment room, Li Jun immediately noticed the redness and swelling on Tong Tong's belly. Ki-jin, curious, asked how Li Jun had noticed the problem without shaving the fur. Li Jun said Tang Tang told him. This left Ki-jin dumbfounded. The next moment, he heard Li Jun ask Tang Tang to turn on his side. Ki-jin reminded him that dogs don't understand human language. However, Tang Tang obediently lay down. Ki-jin could only chuckle and accept reality. A while later, Tong Tong's x-ray results came out. His leg looked like it had some needle-like objects embedded in it. Fortunately, the bones weren't damaged. Kijin stared at it for a moment, realizing it didn't look like needles. It looked more like swelling in the lower limbs caused by a foreign body. Suddenly, something occurred to him. He told Li Jun it was grass. Seeing Li Jun's confused expression, Kijin explained it was the kind of grass that's hard and sharp. If a dog gets pricked by it, the pain makes them lick the area. The more they lick, the more it hurts and itches, eventually embedding it in their flesh. He just had a similar case recently. The patient was also limping, just like Tang Tang. He asked about the post-operative care. Kijin explained that because it was a farm, there weren't any surgical facilities. So they only used local anesthesia, cut open the flesh, pulled out the grass, and then treated it with an antibiotic spray. The spray covered the affected area and prevented the wound from getting wet. It healed after that. Hearing this, Li Jun immediately decided to use Kijin's method. He then instructed Kijin to prepare for surgery. But when he turned around, he saw Tang Tang trembling on the table, clearly terrified. Li Jun stroked Tang Tang, comforting him, "Don't worry. The doctor will help you get better. Just go to sleep peacefully." Observing Li Jun's actions, Kijin wore a faint smile. As expected, he could never match his senior's love for animals. After the successful surgery, Kijin, having witnessed Li Jun's superb skills, was full of admiration. "Hyung, how did you do it so fast?" Li Jun thought for a moment, then gave an answer that left Kijin speechless, that I just read the textbook. The next second, Li Jun started sighing. Tang Tang clearly needed to be hospitalized, but he was so big, and Li Jun couldn't take care of him. He was hinting at Kijin. After Kijin agreed to take care of Tang Tang, Li Jun feigned surprise. "What are you saying? Do I seem like such a heartless senior? You should go home and get some rest." But Kijin didn't fall for the charade. As soon as Li Jun finished speaking, Kijin left. Li Jun deflated like a balloon. Resigned, he had to offer overtime pay to persuade him. Kijin immediately accepted the task of caring for Tang Tang. Watching Kijin leave, Li Jun marveled at his strength and acknowledged his growth. Kijin had played a crucial role in the surgery. After spending a night together, Kijin and Tang Tang were inseparable. Kijin carried Tang Tang everywhere. Sula and Li Jun exchanged glances. Anyone who didn't know better would think a Great Pyrenees was a medium-sized dog, but they were grateful for Kijin. It would have been difficult for just the two of them to care for Tang Tang. Suddenly hearing a thud, Li Jun and Sula turned to look. So it was Tong Tong's owner, the dessert shop owner, who came to visit. He even brought a cake specifically for Kijin. Seeing Kijin enjoying the cake, the owner was very happy. His Tang Tang was too big to move easily, and he was very grateful to Kijin for taking such good care of him. But Kijin gave all the credit to Director Li. After all, animals encountered by the director always received excellent care. Just then, Tang Tang licked Kijin's hand. Noticing this, the owner asked Kijin, "Did Tang Tang just lick your hand?" Kijin was a little puzzled because Tang Tang often licked himself. It turned out the owner hadn't seen Tang Tang lick anyone in a long time. He used to do it often when he was a puppy and in a good mood, but not since he grew up. Then Li Jun explained, "It's probably because Dr. Go has been holding Tang Tang. When Tang Tang was a puppy, he was always being carried around by the owner. But at some point, that stopped. Dr. Go was able to pick him up right away, so Tang Tang feels like a puppy again." Hearing Li Jun's explanation, the owner remembered Tang Tang as a puppy. He finally understood that even though Tang Tang had grown up, he was still the same as when he was little. But now Tang Tang was really too heavy. He couldn't carry him anymore. Li Jun comforted the owner. Maybe Tang Tang saw those small dogs being carried and got a little envious. However, Tang Tang suddenly interrupted him. He looked aggrieved and said it wasn't just that. "When I was little, I always slept with Dad. Now we have to sleep separately. And he used to take me everywhere. Every day, he would pet me and say I was cute. He even gestured with his front paw, mimicking the petting." The owner and Kijin didn't understand what Tang Tang meant, thinking his paw hurt. Li Jun said that's not it. Tang Tang has been very lonely lately. Hearing this, the owner remembered he hadn't taken Tang Tang to the park since he got sick. He immediately planned to take Tang Tang for a walk. "See, doesn't Daddy love you very much?" But Tang Tang still looked dejected. Seeing him whimpering, Kijin thought Tang Tang needed to go to the bathroom. So he picked Tang Dang up. Tang Dang instantly remembered the feeling of being in his dad's arms and smiled happily. Seeing this, the owner admitted he was envious. It's just that I'm not physically able to do that. At that moment, Silverline was stealthily trying to get at the cake. So, Li Jun decided to use him to demonstrate to the owner there are many ways to hug. You don't have to pick them up completely. You can also hug them like this. However, before he could finish, he was interrupted by Cat Paw. Two paws firmly pressed against Li Jun's head, preventing him from getting closer. Li Jun complained to Silverline, "If you reject me like this, what was the point of all the time we've spent together?" Silverline responded to his cryptic words with a few meows. No matter how much he pleaded, Silverline refused to cooperate. He absolutely hated physical contact. Only after Li Jun promised to make him special smoked chicken did Silverline obediently snuggle into his arms, looking harmless. Seeing Li Jun's intimacy with Silverline, the owner finally remembered that he hadn't hugged Tang Tang in a long time. Although he would occasionally pet him, what Tang Tang really wanted was probably loving interaction. The owner finally understood what Tang Tang needed. Because Tang Tang was so big, people often said he was steady and reliable. Over time, he also thought Tang Tang had grown up, so he gradually expressed affection less often. But in Tang Tang's eyes, he still saw himself as a child. Li Jun explained, this is actually a common situation among dog owners. Small dogs give the impression of needing love and protection, while large dogs often give a sense of stability. But even though Tang Tang is big, he's only 3 years old. It's the age when they love to be affectionate. These words made the owner feel guilty. He had neglected Tang Tang's feelings simply because of his size. When he's discharged, I'll definitely spend more time with him. Li Jun was also very happy about this, thinking it would be the best thing for Tang Tang. 10 days later, it was time for Tang Tang to be discharged. The owner was very grateful to Qi Jin for taking care of Tang Tang. They also gave him a full box of desserts as a thank you. Qi Jin and Li Jun told the shop owner not to worry. As long as Tang Tang remained healthy, they were satisfied. They patted Tang Tang's head and told him to be good at home. However, Tang Tang suddenly barked, tugging at Qi Jin's clothes as if to say, "Go home with me." Li Jun helped translate, explaining that Tang Tang didn't want to be separated from Qi Jin. It seemed he'd need to visit the dessert shop often. Qi Jin was stunned at first. Then he started laughing triumphantly, as expected. My popularity is unstoppable, even in the countryside. Even the animals there couldn't bear to part with me. Li Jun agreed. Well, those cows were certainly excited to see you. Li Jun's comment hit a nerve, as Qi Jin was trying to learn more about small animals. So, for the next few days, whenever there were small animals at the hospital, Qi Jin would actively try to interact with them. He'd accidentally bump into a small dog, then use the opportunity to examine it and build a rapport. But just seeing his face, the dogs would tremble in fear. Suddenly, a scream reached everyone's ears. Qi Jin was seen holding a struggling puppy, muttering about being eaten by a monster. Just as he was about to examine the puppy, it kicked him in the face, leaving quite the impression. However, instead of getting angry, Qi Jin's interest in caring for the puppy was piqued. He opened his arms wide, ready to hug the puppies in the hospital, but they ran away from him as if he were a ghost, disappearing without a trace in seconds, leaving Qi Jin feeling a little down. Li Jun could only comfort him. At least Tang Tang likes you. Suddenly, Li Jun and Silverline heard a faint, rustling sound. It was Little Orange and White, scratching at the door. Silverline noticed the worried expression on Little Orange and White's face. Something must have happened. After inviting Little Orange and White into the hospital, Silverline asked him what was wrong. Little Orange and White started to cry. Something terrible happened to Spot. He's trapped under something heavy and can't move. Li Jun and Silverline were shocked. Li Jun asked what exactly happened. Little Orange and White's tears welled up. I don't know. I just happened to pass by and saw him. Please, you have to save Spot. From Little Orange and White's expression, Silverline realized the severity of the situation. So, Li Jun and Silverline immediately prepared to go to the scene. But Sula stopped them, saying they couldn't leave because a client was about to arrive. She also didn't understand why they needed to bring Qi Jin. No matter how much Li Jun pleaded and promised, Sula wouldn't budge. So, Li Jun resorted to appealing to her conscience. Don't you care about animals like we do, Sula? I just want to see what happened. I'll be back soon. Don't you feel sorry for those who are always in danger? This guilt trip made Sula feel helpless. She was always cleaning up after the director. Wasn't she pitiful too? However, Li Jun's words touched her. She understood that every time the director went out, it was to save injured animals. She shouldn't keep stopping him. But the thought of Ki-jin, the klutz, going along too, infuriated Sula. She was worried that Ki-jin, who was prone to breaking equipment, would cause trouble. What if he lost control of his strength during the rescue? Meanwhile, Lee Jun and Ki-jin had already arrived at the scene. They found Spot trapped under the debris. Then, to the astonishment of Lee Jun and the watching cats, Ki-jin single-handedly lifted the debris off of Spot. He then told Lee Jun to quickly clear away the remaining rubble. As the debris was removed piece by piece, Spot gradually had room to breathe, whimpering weakly. The scene was heartbreaking for Lee Jun, who could only offer words of comfort. Just then, Silverline suddenly spoke up, warning Lee Jun with a serious expression. There might be something else under that debris. Hearing this, Lee Jun quickly told Ki-jin not to move, saying they needed to check the situation first. Lee Jun pulled out his phone and turned on the flashlight to examine the pile of debris. Suddenly, he noticed a small dog shivering in a corner not far away. Kyung also found another kitten among them, and while the two were rummaging through the pile of groceries, Sula arrived at the scene. However, she didn't understand why the two were bent over like that. As evening approached, Silverline comforted the kittens. Lee Jun and Kyung counted 3 kittens in the grocery pile, but they were hidden deep inside, making it difficult to rescue them. Lee Jun was about to call 119 for help, but Kyung said it wasn't necessary. He could lift the things, and Lee Jun could rescue the kittens in the meantime. He also knew the location of each kitten. He said he wouldn't hurt them and took a deep breath. Then, he lifted the heavy cabinet in one go. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Lee Jun rescued the kittens. The kittens nearby were stunned. Silverline muttered that Kyung's strength was probably equivalent to 10 beneficiary humans. Just then, Lee Jun ran towards Silverline, holding the kittens, hoping he could help look after them. Suddenly, a loud crash from behind attracted the attention of Lee Jun and the kittens. Kyung had moved all the debris and was holding a pitiful kitten in his arms. Although it didn't look injured, it was clearly frightened by Kyung. Lee Jun took the last kitten, preparing to head back and check them over. But as soon as he finished speaking, Kyung's expression changed. His face gradually darkened. Does Director Zhang not like me? Although Lee Jun tried his best to reassure him that wasn't the case, Kyung knew in his heart that he had broken a lot of things recently and didn't know how to take care of small animals. He had been worrying everyone. Understanding dawned on Lee Jun. He realized that beneath Kyung's cheerful exterior, there was hidden guilt. He told Kyung not to overthink it and handed him a kitten. This is the kitten you saved, so you take care of it. But the tiny kitten started trembling as soon as it was in Kyung's hands. Seeing this, Lee Jun used Silverline in his arms to demonstrate the correct way to hold it. After adjusting his hold, the kitten's expression relaxed. The two adults also breathed a sigh of relief. Lee Jun told Kyung, although you still lack knowledge about small animals, I believe you'll learn quickly. Director Zhang just hasn't fully understood your strengths. You can do things that the rest of us can't. And thanks to you, we were able to save so many little ones. The kittens, seemingly cooperative, meowed at Kyung as if apologizing. However, this series of meows puzzled Kyung. He thought they were worried he would hurt the kittens. Suddenly, an unexpected visitor interrupted them. Lee Jun was surprised. The person who came was Sula, who had opposed their outing. Ignoring Lee Jun's questioning look, Sula strode forward and handed over a box of cake. I heard about what Kyung did today. Thank you for saving those kittens. Just like Lee Jun said, you can do things we can't. I'll try my best to teach you about those small animals and machines. But if you're going to touch anything, you must ask me first. Kyung happily accepted the cake. He was delighted to finally be a true member of the hospital. Lee Jun was happy to see the two getting along, but he suddenly remembered that if Sula was here, who was at the hospital, coincidentally, at that moment, an unlucky fellow was on his way to the hospital. Nangong Xian was going to buy some food for De Huang and have Lee Jun check him over. But when they arrived at the door, both man and dog were stunned. There was a sign hanging on the door. Stray cats need to constantly search for food. During this time, they also have to be wary of all life-threatening dangers. And the key to maintaining this lifestyle is the stray cat's own health. This is a stray cream-colored cat with an eye injury. He is wary of all humans. Even though the other party didn't seem like they would hurt him, he still chose to flee. It turned out that not long ago, he had stolen a small fish from the market. He had planned to find a place to enjoy it slowly, but a shoe blocked his path. The little cream-colored cat looked up and saw a furious human holding a weapon, clearly not intending to let him go easily. Realizing the danger, the little cream-colored cat immediately grabbed the fish and ran. However, during his escape, he was unfortunately injured in the eye, and the wound gradually became inflamed, causing sharp pain. While trying to avoid the human, the little cream-colored cat inadvertently entered another cat's territory. The calico cat pointed to its broken tooth, vowing to avenge the previous injury. Although the little cream-colored cat had been a formidable fighter in the past, he was now injured, and in no condition to easily defeat them. So, as the two cats watched in astonishment, he leaped onto a high wall to escape their pursuit. Finally, he used his exceptional physical abilities to climb a tree. The fat cat wanted to try as well, but its wide body made it impossible. Seeing that he was safe, the little cream-colored cat started taunting from the tree. He should have taught them a lesson back then. However, just then, a sharp pain shot through his injured eye. The two stray cats below noticed something was wrong because the little cream-colored cat suddenly stopped taunting and started scratching himself with his paw. Suddenly, the little cream-colored cat lost his footing and fell straight from the tree. He landed on a patch of thorns. The dense needles scratched him all over. The intense pain made him cry out. Seeing this, the two stray cats laughed. Didn't this guy know there were thorns on the ground? Lying on the thorns, the little cream-colored cat felt a sense of irony. He, a stray cat who once ruled a territory, had been reduced to this state, and in this final haze, he regretted not finding Silverline sooner. It just so happened that Sula was passing by and discovered the severely injured little cream-colored cat lying on the ground, along with the two menacing stray cats. After chasing the other two strays away, the little cream-colored cat weakly tried to see who had come to his aid, but only saw a blurry figure, before losing consciousness. Later, while unconscious, the little cream-colored cat vaguely heard a conversation. He learned from the man that it seemed a gray cat had informed the man about his injuries, which is why he was able to receive treatment so quickly. The little cream-colored cat thought to himself that the gray cat was a good guy. He had to thank him properly next time they met. After that, the little cream-colored cat peacefully recuperated in the hospital. Someone even massaged and scratched him, and they scratched wherever he indicated. Suddenly, he realized something was wrong. He turned his head and saw a human that if there's anywhere else that itches, feel free to tell me. Startled, the little cream-colored cat let out a pungent fart and wriggled out of Li Jun's embrace. Although Li Jun was choked and couldn't open his eyes, he still reminded the little cream-colored cat not to move too much. The little cream-colored cat warily asked Li Jun, "How can you, a human, understand what I'm saying?" Li Jun proudly declared that he was a renowned animal communicator in the area and could understand animals. The little cream-colored cat was stunned, unsure whether he was shocked by this fact or speechless at Li Jun's self-importance. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. "Doctor, how is that kitten from yesterday?" Li Jun told him that the little cream-colored cat was still recovering. Seeing the newcomer, the little cream-colored cat's heart skipped a beat. He was the person he had seen before losing consciousness. Seeing the little cream-colored cat awake, Sula was overjoyed and asked Li Jun if the surgery was successful. Although the little cream-colored cat's life was saved, he had lost one of his eyes. However, this wouldn't affect his life in any significant way. Sula happily relayed this news to the little cream-colored cat. Unconsciously, he had also developed the habit of talking to animals. Afterward, the little cat asked Li Jun if the person just now had saved him. "Mayor Zhang did bring you here. At the time, your eyes and legs were seriously injured. If you hadn't received timely treatment, the consequences would have been unthinkable." The little cat felt a bit touched after hearing this. A human had actually saved him, but he immediately dismissed this unrealistic thought, because in the past, humans had never done anything good for him. He was either caught and played with by mischievous children or chased away by people for no reason while walking down the street. And what frightened him most were those large feet dangling in front of him. He just wanted to survive, yet he was constantly insulted and attacked by humans for no reason. "You stray cat. You're so annoying." That disgusted tone and expression still lingered in his mind. Li Jun saw the little cream-colored cat suddenly turn his head away. He understood that the cat's past life hadn't been easy, so he crouched down and asked, "When did your eyes start hurting? What exactly happened to it?" Seeing the little cat remain silent, Li Jun didn't press him. "Tell me when you're ready." He stretched. Just rest well in the hospital until you've recovered. Back home, Li Jun told Silverline about the cream-colored cat. He estimated that the cat would fully recover within a week. Upon learning that the cream-colored cat had lost an eye, Silverline wasn't surprised. After all, for a stray, it was fortunate enough that such a serious injury could heal at all. As they talked, Li Jun turned his head and inadvertently noticed Silverline's protruding belly. He was instantly startled. He even wondered if Silverline was actually a cat. It clearly looked like a pig's belly. So he ordered Silverline to get up and go for a run outside with him. But Silverline huffily refused, declaring, "I know my own body best. As for the wisdom of this big belly, it's not something you, a mere veterinarian, can comprehend." Saying this, he parted the fur on his belly with his paw, revealing the pink flesh underneath. But the next moment, he froze, because Li Jun had a mischievous grin on his face. Sure enough, Li Jun picked him up. Silverline immediately launched a meow attack, but Li Jun wouldn't let go. "This is for your own health." And while the man and cat were scuffling, Luo he suddenly called, inviting him out for dinner to discuss something. Li Jun arrived at the destination shortly after. Because he'd heard they were having barbecue, Silverline, the little glutton, had tagged along. Li Jun reassured Luo he won't run around. Luo he wasn't too concerned about that. He just thought Silverline clinging to Li Jun was a bit too conspicuous. So Li Jun put Silverline down on the ground. He turned and asked Luo how he knew Nangong Xian. Luo he thought for a moment that it was about 3 years ago when I was volunteering at the shelter. At the time, Nangong Xian barged into the shelter looking scruffy and menacing. Seeing him, I tried to convince myself that he just didn't care about his appearance and was actually a kind-hearted person deep down. But then I thought about all those people who had been convicted for abusing and abandoning animals. So I rushed up to Nangong Xian, blocked his way, and pointed at his nose, yelling, "We don't have any animals here suitable for you to adopt. Get out!" Li Jun was stunned by this bizarre story. Luo he had a vivid memory of the incident. After all, he couldn't have imagined that the dirty man would be the famous Nangong Xian. Speak of the devil. The next moment, Nangong Xian appeared before them, shining brightly. His radiant appearance was so dazzling that Luo he could barely keep his eyes open. This was a far cry from the Nangong Xian in his memory. "Come and say hello to the Yunjiang." After saying this, a yellow dog walked out from beside Nangong Xian. Li Jun's eyes lit up with joy. "It's Da Huang. He looks much better than before." Li Jun excitedly started talking to Da Huang, asking him how he'd been doing. "My new dad makes me delicious food every day, takes me for walks, and pets me. I've been so happy lately. And all of this is thanks to the doctor." Being able to live such a happy life, Li Jun felt very grateful. But he didn't take the credit. He simply told Da Huang that it was all thanks to Da Huang's good nature that he met such a good guardian. He then immediately rewarded Da Huang with a bone. Meanwhile, the adults started talking business. Nangong Xian had heard from Luo that Li Jun was highly skilled in endoscopy, so he hoped Li Jun could spare one day a week to help him. In return, he would provide good publicity. Luo he strongly recommended that Li Jun accept. With Li Jun's help, his workload would be much lighter. Li Jun thought for a moment. Then he agreed to Nangong Xian's request. After all, it was a good deed that could save lives. Hearing Li Jun's agreement, Nangong Xian excitedly clapped his hands. But Li Jun then made another request, to build an animal hospital near his animal shelter in the future. This would not only make it convenient for medical staff and volunteers, but also allow them to promptly rescue stray animals in need. Seeing Nangong Xian cover his face, Li Jun felt a little embarrassed, thinking he had asked for too much. Unexpectedly, the next second, Nangong Xian excitedly accepted Li Jun's suggestion. It turned out he had covered his face because he felt guilty for not having thought of such a basic thing himself. This easy and hasty decision, however, left Li Jun and Luo he dumbfounded. Luo he advised Nangong Xian to calm down and carefully consider the budget, as they still needed to build a cat shelter. But Nangong Xian believed that doing these things for animals was a duty, and a little money wasn't a big deal. Li Jun, catching the words cat shelter, asked what it was. It was the first time he'd heard of cats needing a shelter. Nangong Xian explained with a smile that he had recently inspected a nearby park. Because the facilities were dilapidated, he planned to renovate the park. He wanted to add many facilities suitable for cats to live and rest. Li Jun knew how large the park was. Such a project would require considerable budget. Nan Gongxian admitted it would be quite a bit, but as long as it allowed those animals to live in a better environment, it was worth it. The current park didn't even have a place to shelter from the rain. Da Huang and Silverline were still competing when they suddenly stopped. Nan Gongxian smiled and asked them, "Don't you think so too? When we have the ability, we should help those suffering animals." Seeing this loving man, Li Jun found it amusing. Such a person had been mistakenly thought to be an animal abuser in the past. He suggested not setting too many conditions for those who wanted to adopt. Not long ago, Sula, influenced by Li Jun, had also taken to chatting with the animals in her spare time. She told the cream-colored cat that he was the second stray cat rescued by the hospital. There had been a severely injured gray cat before, who now lived with the director. Someone nearby reminded Sula that animals couldn't understand her. Unbeknownst to them, the little cream-colored cat was listening with great interest. He was very curious about this fellow stray, the gray cat. That evening, Li Jun went home and told Silverline about the cream-colored cat. He had recovered enough to have his bandages removed, but they weren't sure if the wound would get infected, so they needed to observe him for a while longer. He then asked Silverline if the cream-colored cat could stay at their house temporarily. Silverline rested his chin in his hand, thought for a moment, and agreed. Actually, Li Jun had another reason for this request. 2 months had passed since Silverline was adopted, but he had become a gluttonous eating machine. So, Li Jun also hoped Silverline could make a new friend. So, the next day, the cream-colored cat was brought home. The little cat keenly smelled that in addition to a refreshing kimchi smell, there was also a familiar scent in this human's house, like the scent of his most hated enemy, Silverline. But he quickly dismissed the thought, convincing himself that Silverline couldn't possibly be here. Just then, Li Jun warned Silverline not to touch the new friend, as he was still a patient. Hearing this, the cream-colored cat broke out in a cold sweat. He had mistakenly wandered into Silverline's territory. As the zipper of the cat carrier slowly opened, the little cat's heart beat faster and faster. He opened his eyes and saw Silverline standing right in front of him. The little cream-colored cat instantly turned to stone. 2 loud meows echoed through the house. Li Yun quickly intervened. "Didn't I just say you two should get along? Why are you hissing at each other the moment you meet?" "He's still recovering." The cream-colored cat, Xiao He, retorted, "I only meowed twice." Li Jun scolded Xiao He. "I told you before to get along with the gray cat, but you didn't say the gray cat was Silverline." Hearing this, Li Jun realized they already knew each other. "Then you should get along even better," he said. Xiao He, however, saw Li Jun as Silverline's subordinate. So he ignored Li Jun and yelled at Silverline, "How much more humiliation are you going to put me through? Wasn't that incident enough?" Li Jun frowned, realizing this was more complicated than he thought. He wouldn't allow this animosity to continue. He forcibly pulled Silverline and Xiao He onto a cushion and told him to talk things out. Silverline and Xiao He were speechless. They sat stiffly, refusing to speak, let alone reconcile. Xiao He even started planning his escape route. Then Li Jun asked him, "What did you mean about Silverline humiliating you?" It turned out this area used to be ruled by 3 cats, and Xiao He was one of them. He had strict rules for the stray cats' lives. Then one day, Xiao He met his dream cat. She was a beautiful, pure white kitten. He thought love had arrived. But the white kitten said she already had a cat she liked, and that cat was Yin Xian, another stray cat leader. Silverline looked bewildered. "What does this have to do with me?" Xiao He, blinded by rage, pointed at Silverline and yelled, "You're big and fluffy. Of course you wouldn't understand the humiliation of being dumped." Li Jun, watching the drama unfold, covered his mouth in amusement. The next second, Silverline threw the cushion in a fit of anger. "That's why you left? Do you know how hard it was for me? You fought with me over something this ridiculous." Seeing that a fight was about to break out, Li Jun quickly grabbed Silverline and told him to retract his claws. Then he asked Xiao He, "What about the wound on your eye? Does that have anything to do with Silverline?" Xiao He started making up excuses, claiming he got it during training. Although the misunderstanding was cleared up, Silverline still refused to be around Xiao He and urged Li Jun to kick him out. The 2 cats started arguing again. Finally, Li Jun lost his patience that, "If you keep this up, no dinner for either of you." The two cats finally quieted down. With a combination of threats and promises, Li Jun forced them to make up. However, they still refused to touch each other, only tapping each other lightly with the tips of their claws. Li Jun was speechless. That night, Silverline and Xiao He slept on the cushion. Silverline told Xiao He, "While we were eating, I realized something. I understand how it feels to not be chosen." Xiao He, touched, shyly apologized. Then, Silverline burst out laughing. "But it's all because I'm so handsome. What can I do? My good looks have caused me so much trouble my whole life. Please try to understand my plight." Xiao He's reply was a blow. "What can I say? You don't even have any, you know." The next morning, many people were walking their dogs in the park. A couple was also walking their dog. The man suddenly asked, "What if we could understand what animals are saying?" The woman frowned, thinking he must still be half asleep. "But if we could, then I know what kind of clothes our little guy likes. And I could chat with him when he's lonely." The man agreed. Having that ability would be really convenient. He pointed at their dog, and he could tell us when he needs to poop. The woman punched him in the arm. Grumbling, she squatted down to clean up the mess. "It's all your fault for daydreaming. Now look at the trouble you've caused me." Little did they know, someone who could understand animals was right next to them. Ever since Li Jun gained this ability, he'd come to the park to relax whenever he had free time. Watching the happy, furry children talk was therapeutic for him. Suddenly, his gaze sharpened. He noticed a corgi not far away whose hind legs seemed a little weak. Although it didn't look serious, it was best to address it early. However, as a doctor, he felt awkward about soliciting business. Just as he was fretting over this, another dog caught his attention. A dark-colored poodle passed in front of him. Although the dog didn't look old, it seemed listless. Following the leash upwards, Li Jun saw that the dog's owner was a woman with a haggard face. This made Li Jun wonder if something had happened to her family. Just then, he heard someone calling him. Turning his head, he saw Yuzi enthusiastically running towards him, followed by his guardian. After they greeted each other, Li Jun remembered something. He asked her if she was getting tired from their daily walks. The girl confidently struck a pose. She said she'd been feeling fantastic lately, sleeping well at night, and even getting prettier. Yuzi, however, didn't back her up. The girl instantly transformed into a King Kong Barbie and threatened Yuzi, making him tremble with fear. Then the girl asked Li Jun what he had been looking at. After Li Jun explained, the girl immediately understood. Li Jun was talking about the listless poodle. She said the dog used to be a regular at the park. Back then, it was a very cheerful little dog, but at some point, it had become very depressed. This made Li Jun even more worried, suspecting that the dog was unwell. Yuzi listened quietly. Hearing Li Jun's concern, his eyes lit up. Soon, Yuzi shared the news with the other dogs. The dogs all thought it was a good thing, but Xiaoming was a little worried about the dachshund. They felt they needed to do something for Xiaomei. Xiaoming refused. Yesterday, Xiaomei had pretended not to know him. Washing asked what happened. "Weren't you and Xiaomei close?" Xiaoming didn't know. He and Xiaomei used to play together every morning. But later, Xiaomei stopped even greeting him. Washing didn't say anything after hearing this. Seeing Xiaoming's expression, he had an idea. He guessed that Xiaomei must still be missing Milk, a Maltese who had spent over 10 years with the park dogs. Milk had always taken special care of the other puppies. But since the year before last, Milk had become seriously ill. Without Milk, the atmosphere in the park was always gloomy. Then, one day, Milk didn't go to the hospital, but rushed to the park to meet everyone. Xiaoming was worried about Milk's condition, but she just said she had something to ask of him. She hoped he would take good care of Xiaomei in the future. At the time, Xiaoming found it a bit strange. Little did he know, that would be his last conversation with Milk. She knew her time was running out, so she had come specifically to ask this favor. The dogs all looked sad when they talked about Milk. Perhaps Xiaomei was so listless because she missed Milk so much. Fortunately, Xiaomei still had Yetzai. Milk, and Xiaomei had once lived in the same home. He should be able to fill the void in Xiaomei's heart. Xiaoming didn't understand. If that was the case, why was Xiaomei still so downcast? Suddenly, Huaxing noticed Xiaomei happening to pass by. Xiaomei's mom, prejudiced against the other dog's guardians, quickly pulled on Xiaomei's leash, trying to avoid them. But it was too late. Huaxing's mom stopped her and warmly inquired about her recent situation. Meanwhile, Huaxing expressed his concern for Xiaomei. Chow Mei, what's wrong? You seem unwell. The other dogs also looked worried and asked him what was going on. Xiaoming noticed that Chow Mei had lost a lot of weight. The dachshund looked serious. Don't tell me your mom isn't feeding you enough. Chow Mei told him that wasn't it. On the contrary, his mom kept forcing him to eat. The dogs perked up instantly, thinking Chow Mei had been mistreated. Huasheng grabbed Chow Mei's head and shook it repeatedly. Is it true? He dared to do such a thing to Chow Mei. Furious, he was about to go find Chow Mei's mom to ask for clarification. Just then, Chow Mei's mom noticed Huasheng baring his teeth and barking at her. Huasheng's mom quickly stopped Huasheng's agitation. However, Chow Mei's mom seemed lost in thought. She rummaged in her bag. Perhaps Huasheng wants a roasted sweet potato. This is the snack I specially prepared for Chow Mei. He used to love sweet potatoes the most, but recently he's lost his appetite. Chow Mei hasn't had any appetite either. Maybe seeing the other pups eat will give him some. So the other dogs were all given roasted sweet potatoes and started munching away. Chow Mei's mom also offered some to Chow Mei, but Chow Mei remained indifferent. The dachshund licked his lips. This is delicious, Chow Mei. Aren't you going to eat? Huasheng urged Chow Mei to eat at least a little. Otherwise, you'll get hungry. Xiaoming was also anxious. If you want something else, I'll bring you snacks from home. The next moment, the dogs were all stunned by Chow Mei's words. Big brother Yi Kai went to cat heaven. Xiaoming was in disbelief. Sister Milk just passed away not long ago. How could big brother Yi Kai be gone too? The dachshund didn't know how to comfort him. He could only tell Chow Mei, life goes on. What are we going to do if something happens to you too? Chow Mei then went to his mom's side. The dachshund, thinking Chow Mei had come around, excitedly urged him to eat. Chow Mei then ate the sweet potato from his mom's hand. This surprised Chow Mei's mom.as expected. Chow Mei can eat with other dogs around. But Huasheng, watching Chow Mei forcing himself to eat, knew this wouldn't solve Chow Mei's problem. So he found a chance to tell Li Jun everything. He hoped Li Jun could help alleviate Chow Mei's pain. Learning that Huasheng's mom knew Chow Mei's mom, Li Jun pondered for a moment and said he would talk to Chow Mei's mom. A teddy bear felt guilty because his companion had gone to cat heaven. To help him overcome his grief, his guardian brought him to the Wong Animal Hospital. They heard it was very popular with pet owners. Little did they know this was all arranged by Li Jun. After hearing about Chow Mei's situation, he had Huasheng's mom subtly recommend it to Chow Mei's mom. Guided by Li Jun, Chow Mei's mom explained her pup's situation. Chow Mei used to be very active at the park and always eager to eat. He's been down since his sister passed away. Then Yi Kai going to cat heaven made him even more depressed. Chow Mei's mom was a little surprised. In these few short sentences, she sensed Li Jun's compassion. It showed he was a very caring vet. It was because of this warmth that Huasheng's mom had recommended this place. Chow Mei's mom then told Li Jun Yi Kai had hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. It was a congenital hereditary disease. But because Yi Kai never showed any discomfort, I discovered it very late. Li Jun, of course, knew about this disease. He comforted Chow Mei's mom. This disease often has no obvious symptoms. It was already fortunate that you discovered it at all. But Chow Mei's mom still blamed herself if I had found out earlier. Yi Kai could have lived longer. I wonder if Yi Kai resents me. Li Jun thought he probably didn't. In his daily life, Yi Kai would often wag his tail and knead on you. These were his ways of expressing love. Hearing this, Chow Mei's mom recalled that when she found Yi Kai had gone to cat heaven, he seemed to have a smile on his face. She choked up for a moment. The perfunctory encouragements from others were still fresh in her mind. He was told he'd done his best, but those words never truly comforted him. Yet this doctor in front of him could. It was as if he were speaking for Yi Kai. If only they were true. After resolving the guardian's concerns, Li Jun still needed to treat Chow Mei. He asked the guardian to wait outside the treatment room for a while. Chow Mei's mom thought this approach was a bit strange, but in order to find out the reason, she complied. After she left, Li Jun got straight to the point and asked about Chow Mei's physical condition. His current situation had Huasheng very worried. Chow Mei's ears drooped slightly, indicating he still cared deeply. Huasheng thinks you're too thin. He's worried you only eat grass all day long. These words startled Chow Mei. How did you know? Li Jun chuckled. Huasheng told me, of course. I can listen to all the children's worries. So tell me what's on your mind, too. Chow Mei hung his head and didn't speak. Seeing him hesitate to speak, Li Jun figured he wasn't ready yet. So Li Jun told him, these are the tales of the dogs. Huasheng, Xiaoming, and Haidu all want to encourage you and cheer you up. Chow Mei hesitated for a moment before finally speaking. But what he said surprised Li Jun. Brother Yi Kai went to cat heaven because of me. Li Jun had thought Chao Mei was upset about his friend's passing, but unexpectedly, Chao Mei believed he was the reason Yi Kai had gone to cat heaven. Li Yun understood Chao Mei's feelings. When a child loves someone, they often blame themselves for everything. He was the same way after Do Do went to dog heaven. Guilt and sadness left a deep wound in his heart. Li Jun told Chao Mei, Yi Kai went to cat heaven because he was sick. It wasn't your fault. However, these words only made Chao Mei more sorrowful. Brother Yi Kai always said it wasn't my fault. For example, when I broke things at home, Brother Yi Kai would always comfort me like this. It's not your fault. It's because I didn't explain beforehand which things are easily broken. Next time I'll tell you properly. Ever since Sister Milk went to dog heaven, Brother Yi Kai had taken even more painstaking care of Chao Mei, which deepened Chao Mei's dependence on him. However, one day, when Chao Mei went to play with Yi Kai as usual, he saw Yi Kai lying on the mat and mistakenly thought he was asleep. So he decided to sneak up behind him and surprise him. Chao Mei pounced on Yi Kai, hugging him and urging him to wake up, complaining that he hadn't played with him all day. But Yi Kai didn't react at all. Chao Mei then realized something was wrong with Brother Yi Kai. In an instant, fear and guilt surged through him. Just thinking about that scene made Chao Mei tremble uncontrollably. He had just eaten with Brother Yi Kai that day. Just because he playfully hugged his brother from behind. That's why my brother became like this. It's my fault. I'm so sorry. Seeing Chao Mei's condition worsening and his breathing becoming labored, Li Jun picked him up. Chao Mei clearly didn't know that Yi Kai had already passed away before he approached him. So he asked Chao Mei, when you hug Yi Kai, did his body react at all? If not, it means he had already gone to cat heaven before that. So please don't blame yourself too much. None of this is your fault. If Yi Kai knew how much you relied on and loved him, he would be happy too. To help Chao Mei calm down, Li Jun thought of his own past. Back then, he was able to completely overcome his grief, all thanks to his good friends. They were willing to listen to all the sweet memories he had with Dodo. So now Li Jun wanted to do the same. He hoped Chao Mei could talk about the happy times he spent with Yi Kai. Chao Mei told Li Jun that Yi Kai used to scare him with cockroaches, always greeted him before walks, often snuck him snacks behind his mom's back, and they hugged at least 3 times a day. But as soon as he received the hug, Chao Mei involuntarily recalled the scene from that day. He immediately broke free from Li Jun's embrace. He still couldn't convince himself, because that day, he had clearly eaten with his brother. Afterwards, when he was playing alone, his brother had smiled at him. Yi Kai, you must have felt so happy seeing me eating obediently and playing happily. So you must have felt very happy, right? Even I would feel the same seeing that. Chao Mei still frowned. Even if that's true, when Milk left, both he and I said goodbye. But we didn't say anything to my brother. Large teardrops slid from Chao Mei's eyes. Seeing this, Li Jun knew that Chao Mei's heart was wavering. But if he tried to comfort him with the same words as before, it might backfire. So Li Jun opened the door to the treatment room. He asked the cat veterinarian from Wang Animal Hospital to make a diagnosis. The day before, he had told Silver and Xiaohei about Chao Mei's situation. They had both been stray cats. They often saw Chao Mei walking nearby. Learning that Chao Mei was now so depressed, Xiaohei felt it was a pity. Li Jun wanted to do something for Chao Mei, so he suggested that Silver and Xiaohei go with him to help Chao Mei recover. However, the 2 cats showed no interest. Li Jun hadn't expected this. Dejectedly squatting on the ground, he lamented, "It's all my fault for not raising you well, turning you into homebody fatties." Since he mentioned fatty, Xiaohei urged Silver to go to the hospital. After all, it wouldn't matter which of them went. Silver had known Chao Mei longer. Hearing this, Li Jun turned his head and carefully observed Silver, who looked pitiful as he cried. Silver couldn't bear to refuse. And so, the next day, Silver followed Li Jun to the hospital. He had heard everything about Chao Mei's experience clearly from behind the door. Such a lively and cheerful puppy before. Now like this, just because his brother Yi Kai went to cat heaven. This shows you really loved your brother Yi Kai. But you're so thin now. Is your owner not feeding you? Chao Mei shook his head. He didn't want to eat, but if you don't eat, your brother will be sad. Chao Mei's heart jolted. He asked Silver how he knew. Silver countered with a question. When you were eating, didn't Yi Kai often smile at you? In our cat world, that represents peaceful coexistence. Then Silver told Chao Mei that he actually envied Yi Kai, who was able to say goodbye to him at the end. As a stray cat, it's common for companions to disappear mysteriously. Even I was the same. If the doctor hadn't saved me that day, I would have certainly died miserably somewhere. but Yi Kai was different. He went to cat heaven in such a warm home. I think he must have been very happy until the very end, because you were all of Yi Kai's love. In an instant, memories of Yi Kai flooded Cao Mei's mind. Those sad and happy scenes replayed in his mind. Cao Mei shed tears of emotion. Brother Yi Kai had always loved him very much. Seeing this, Li Jun, who had been quietly watching, couldn't help but smile. It was fortunate that he had brought silver. He couldn't have achieved this kind of healing. The next day, Li Jun rummaged through his belongings to find a gift for Silver. Silver was initially disdainful. Then a small toy mouse was presented to him. Li Jun explained that it was a reward for helping Cao Mei yesterday. The moment Silver took the toy, the little mouse seemed to possess an unknown magic, instantly captivating Silver. Just then, the doorbell rang. It was Huaxing's mom and Cao Mei's mom, coming to express their gratitude. Li Jun inquired about Cao Mei's condition. Since returning home yesterday, Cao Mei had started eating properly. He was even wagging his tail with a smile that's all thanks to the director. Li Jun was very happy to know that Cao Mei had recovered. Meanwhile, Silver was still playing with the toy mouse. Huaxing brought Cao Mei to express their gratitude. Thanks to Silver, Cao Mei had recovered. Silver asked if Cao Mei was still feeling sad. Cao Mei explained that although he didn't get to say goodbye to his brother, Yi Kai, he would live on, carrying both his brother's and sister's share of life. Li Jun overheard Cao Mei's words and was relieved that he had regained his spirit. It was all thanks to the efforts of these small animals. He thought that Milk and Yi Kai would surely be happy knowing this and live well on the other side. Ever since Li Jun gained the ability to communicate with animals, he was happy to be able to help them. But he sometimes wondered if Dodo were still around, he would be able to take better care of him now. Suddenly, he heard Dodo's voice. Li Jun wondered how Dodo was doing. He looked around, but couldn't find him. It was only when he heard Dodo's concern for him that Li Jun realized Dodo had been watching over him all along. Just as he was lost in thought, Silver's yelling startled him awake. "Hey you, get up and make me food." He opened his eyes groggily and saw Guo Xiaohao holding a grumpy Silver standing by his bed. "Your cat seems to dislike the meatless cat food." At the hospital, Li Jun told him not to climb in through his window. But Guo Xiaohao looked unconcerned. When they were young, it was thanks to this trick that he rescued Li Jun, who was locked in his room studying. Back then, they created so many good memories. This time, he just happened to be passing by for work, and seeing the familiar windowsill, he couldn't resist climbing in. Seeing him ramble on, Li Jun said impatiently, "Next time, please ring the doorbell." Guo Xiaohao just crossed his legs with a grin. "What does it matter? I'm coming in whether I ring the doorbell or not." He then remembered that this was his first time visiting Li Jun's hospital. He had only seen pictures from the opening day due to his busy schedule. Suddenly, he was attracted by a strange painting behind Li Jun. Li Jun explained that it was a gift he received on his opening day. Since then, he had learned a lot, not only from the animals, but also from their guardians. Guo Xiaohao was happy about Li Jun's change. He noticed that Li Jun was full of energy after becoming a veterinarian, and he also had the drive to strive for greater goals. Then, scratching his head awkwardly, he said, "I didn't expect my first painting to be snatched up on opening day." After rummaging around, he handed a portfolio to Li Jun. He had actually painted another one later. The painting vividly depicted Li Jun living in harmony with various animals. Li Jun's praise made Guo Xiaohao beam with pride. But what warmed Li Jun's heart the most was that Guo Xiaohao hadn't forgotten Dodo. Then, Guo Xiaohao suggested that Li Jun visit Africa sometime. He had just returned from a business trip there. There were far more animal species than he had imagined. Listening to him enthusiastically recounting his interesting work experiences, Li Jun felt that Guo Xiaohao must have chosen the path he wanted to take. After all, only when someone is doing what they love can they have such a happy expression. Similarly, becoming a veterinarian was the path Li Jun wanted most. Their conversation wasn't even interrupted by a phone call. The call was from Nan Gongxian. After hearing the voicemail prompt, he assumed Li Jun was busy treating animals. So he left a message saying that the cat shelter in the park was finished. Li Jun and Guo Xiaohao had been chatting animatedly, and before they knew it, it was noon. They were planning to grab a bite somewhere when Guo Xiaohao noticed someone. It was Su La. She hadn't brought lunch and asked the director if she could join them. Li Jun readily agreed. It had been a while since they had a meal together. Since Chicken was officially going home for dinner, Li Jun decided to just order takeout. But Guo Xiaohao suddenly pulled him aside. Li Jun thought he didn't want takeout. Unexpectedly, he shyly asked about Su La's identity. Li Jun explained that she was the hospital director. Hearing that Li Jun worked with such a cute girl, Guo Xiaohao was incredibly envious. Why did he have to be all alone taking pictures in the wilderness? Li Jun didn't want to listen to his whining. He opened his phone while pushing Guo Xiaohao away, but then he saw a barrage of missed calls from Nan Gongxian. Li Jun was startled. He couldn't care less about food anymore. He ran towards the park as fast as he could. Before leaving, he said that Guo Xiaohao and Su La could eat together. Su La didn't understand who Li Jun was talking about. Guo Xiaohao blushed and shyly introduced himself. Meanwhile, Li Jun arrived at the park. He was happy to see that the park had built so many facilities for cats to play. Nan Gongxian told Li Jun that it was designed based on suggestions from many people, because cats really like this kind of space. Li Jun thanked Nan Gongxian for doing so much, but he felt that he should be the one apologizing. Thanks to Li Jun's initial idea, he was able to take this step in animal protection. He also hoped that more and more people could get involved. At this time, the stray cats were very excited to see their new home. They hadn't expected such a dramatic change after living in another community for a while. Little Yellow tearfully thanked Li Jun. Such a sturdy and rain-proof house was simply wonderful. In the past, when he lived with Big Brother Silver, they always had to endure the rain. So he really hoped the captain could also see their new home. Little White interrupted him, asking why he had to bring that up on such a happy day. He was their leader now. Besides, Big Brother Silver had a more comfortable house now. Listening to the cat's conversation, Li Jun wondered if Little Yellow had taken over as captain. He suddenly felt a pang of regret for Silver, and maybe Silver had the same thought. So he suggested holding a retirement ceremony for Silver here. This way, not only could everyone see the new home together, but they could also have a chance to say a proper goodbye. Little Yellow excitedly agreed, happy to have a final farewell with the captain. So after work, Li Jun brought Guo Xiaohao back to the park. He was carrying Silver's carrier. Guo Xiaohao was there to take pictures. Li Jun asked how their lunch was. Guo Xiaohao proudly said he had made a good impression on Su La, because during lunch, Su La deliberately left some food for him. Li Jun knew immediately that Su La was just a picky eater. But Guo Xiaohao insisted on being delusional and even teased Li Jun for being envious. Just then, he noticed that the area was unknowingly surrounded by cats. He quickly picked up his camera to take pictures of the affectionate cats. Li Jun put the carrier on the ground. He let the former cat captain say his final goodbye to everyone. The stray cat captain returned to his former territory. Seeing the completely transformed park, Silver's eyes instantly lit up. Li Jun told him that it was specially built for stray cats. Living in such a thoughtful environment, the cats would definitely have a better life. Silver was happy for his companions. When they were straying together, there wasn't even a place to hide from the rain. As Silver reminisced, he suddenly heard someone calling his name, which startled him. It was his former companion from a park. Little Yellow tearfully asked how the captain had been. Silver replied and asked about him in return. Thanks to the captain's guidance, they were living well now. But as the former captain, Silver knew how hard that position was. So he offered to hug Little Yellow and thank him for his hard work. Little Yellow ecstatically agreed. However, the next second, his expression changed. He now deeply understood how well the captain was living. Silver's plump body almost suffocated him. Not long after the news of Silver's return spread, a lot of stray cats gathered in the park. Guo Xiaohao asked Li Jun, puzzled, "Didn't you have 2 cats at home? Why didn't you bring the other one?" Li Jun had initially planned to bring Little Black along too, but Little Black figured that since Silver had so many friends, he wouldn't be missed. If Silver really wants my blessing that badly, he can come and ask for it himself. This made Silver fume. Li Jun didn't understand why the 2 cats couldn't get along. Suddenly, music started playing from a street. Li Jun and Guo Xiaohao were startled by what they saw next. The cats were swaying to the music. Excited, Guo Xiaohao quickly grabbed his camera to film. Li Jun felt that bringing Silver back was a good decision, because not only were the cats enjoying themselves, but even the people strolling around were charmed by the adorable scene. Little Yellow gathered all the cats together to thank Captain Silver for his guidance and care over the past period. Silver felt gratified. Not long ago, these kittens still needed his care. Before he knew it, they had all grown up. Each and every one of them had become capable cats. He he could finally rest easy. Then Silver addressed his companions. Although I'm no longer the captain, I'll often come to the park to visit everyone, because you will always be my most precious friends. From now on, listen to Little Yellow and live well. The cats unanimously raised their paws in agreement. Guo Xiaohao captured the scene. Suddenly, a voice beside him caught his attention. It turned out that Su La had also been drawn to the commotion in the park. Unfortunately, she had only caught the tail end of it. Upon hearing this, Li Jun immediately had an idea. He suggested that Su La go see Guo Xiaohao, because he had filmed the entire cat gathering. Faced with Su La's request, Guo Xiaohao naturally agreed without hesitation. After this farewell ceremony, Li Jun believed that the cats genuinely respected Silver. Since that was the case, they should also let go of some of their attachment. A few days later, the video of the cats went viral online. Li Jun received a call from Nan Gongxian, who said he wanted to give him a bonus. Thanks to Li Jun's publicity, these facilities provided for stray cats had become public knowledge. Li Jun asked Guo Xiaohao, who was petting a cat behind him, "Nan Gongxian wants to give you a bonus. Do you want it?" Guo Xiaohao felt it wasn't necessary. He had already earned quite a bit from the video's revenue. It would be better to donate the money to the cats. When Li Jun asked how much he had earned, Guo Xiaohao's reply gave Li Jun an immediate answer. Director Li Jun finally made an appearance today, attracting TV reporters for an interview. It turned out that the video of stray cats dancing in the park had recently gone viral. The view count had exceeded 2 million in just a few days. Even Li Jun was a little puzzled. These people must be watching this video every day, he thought. However, Su La thought it was perfectly normal, because the cats were truly adorable. Even she watched it 3 times a day. Although she had seen part of it in person, the video not only showed the cats dancing, but also glimpses of their daily lives. These scenes brought her a sense of peace. She also admired Guo Xiaohao for capturing the details so well. The video of the dancing cats also caught the attention of Xin Eunji, a cat lover. Due to the stress of her job as a reporter, she often watched cat videos to unwind. Suddenly, she felt something was odd. Stray cats are typically aloof and wary of each other, let alone dancing together like this. She began to suspect that the video might be fake. The cats striking the same poses simultaneously seemed very strange. Considering the vast resources of the Nan Gong group, Xin Eunji imagined a scenario where someone funded by Nan Gongxian deliberately created this video for publicity. Without hesitation, she called the Nan Gong group's public relations department, identifying herself as a reporter and inquiring about the video. Not long after, Li Jun received a call from Xin Eunji. She introduced herself as a reporter from Oriental Sports and said she wanted to interview him. She praised him for the eco-friendly park idea, saying it would be a big story. Li Jun explained that he only made some suggestions to Nan Gongxian. He said the real credit belonged to the staff who implemented the project and that she should interview them instead. After that, Li Jun hung up. Although disappointed by the rejection, Xin Eunji wasn't one to give up easily. The next day, he personally visited Wang Animal Hospital, seeing the business card Xin Eunji handed him. Li Jun guessed this was the reporter from yesterday's phone call. "I already said I don't intend to be interviewed." However, Xin Eunji assumed Li Jun simply didn't understand the potential benefits. He pointed out that Li Jun could become famous, and even the hospital's reputation would be greatly enhanced. "If I were to promote the hospital for profit, I would be even less likely to accept an interview. My original intention in studying veterinary medicine was simply to make animals happier." Xin Eunji realized he misspoke and was about to try to recover, but was suddenly distracted by a cat's meow behind him. He immediately recognized the 2 cats sitting on the cat tree as the ones from the video in the park. He then looked at Li Jun enviously. He hadn't realized both cats were adopted. He'd been watching the cats dancing every day lately. While happy about it, Li Jun had to remind him that he hadn't taken the black cat to the park that day. But Xin Eunji insisted he had seen it there. Even pulling out the video to show Li Jun instantly understood the black cat was being stubborn. When pressed about what really happened, Little Black argued that he just wanted to meet the female cats. This angered Silver, who gave him 2 punches. There's a limit to how much you can lie. If you wanted to come, you could have just come along obediently. And so, Silver and Little Black started fighting again. Ignoring the cat's fight, Li Jun complimented Xin Eunji on his sharp observation skills. Xin Eunji readily admitted it. After all, his main job was as a reporter, and before coming to the hospital, he had also stopped by the park. The cats were indeed as cute as in the video. It was clear they were living well. Every cat looked happy. Talking about animals got Lee Jun excited. After their conversation, Lee Jun learned that Shin Eun-ji particularly loved cats. But Shin Eun-ji's tone suddenly shifted. Since there are people like me who love cats, there must also be people who don't want cats living in the park. So I hope, director, you can tell me how people can live harmoniously with cats. And what is the situation with those park cats? This is the topic I want to interview you about. Because he built large villas for stray cats in the park, the veterinarian who could understand animals was targeted by a reporter. Lee Jun initially wanted to directly refuse the interview. But after talking, he realized Shin Eun-ji was just a sports reporter neglecting his duties due to his obsession with cats. So, somewhat bewildered, Lee Jun accepted the interview. When asked why he thought of making hiding places for the cats, Lee Jun explained that cats like warm, sunny places. So, to make it easier for them to rest, he made small houses for each cat tailored to their size. Shin Eun-ji was a little incredulous. How could stray cats cooperate with being measured? Lee Jun calmly took a sip of coffee. The cats are actually quite obedient. Seeing that Shin Eun-ji still doubted the truth of the matter, Lee Jun invited him to go to the park together to play with the cats. At the park, Lee Jun called out, "Kids, come out." Shin Eun-ji was dumbfounded. Could you really call stray cats like that? However, the next moment, he saw a group of stray cats running towards Lee Jun. Seeing Lee Jun interact closely with the cats without any problems, Shin Eun-ji subconsciously assumed these cats could understand human speech. He excitedly opened his arms, hoping the cats would hug him too. But the cats remained indifferent. Seeing Shin Eun-ji's bewildered expression, Lee Jun couldn't help but burst out laughing. Then Lee Jun opened little Orange's mouth to examine his teeth. Shin Eun-ji suddenly realized that, for a stray cat, this one wasn't just in good dental condition. Even its ears and eyes were exceptionally clean. It turned out this was all thanks to Lee Jun. Although he didn't have time to bathe the cats, he occasionally cleaned their ears and teeth. Shin Eun-ji assumed Lee Jun did this because he received a management fee from the Manhwa group. However, that wasn't the case. Lee Jun's purpose was simply to make the cats look more comfortable, so they wouldn't be disliked. He also didn't want them to be criticized for hygiene issues. Hearing how thoroughly Lee Jun had considered everything, Shin Eun-ji felt reassured. However, he still had one question. What would happen if they needed to expand the cat facilities in the future? How would they manage so many cats then? Lee Jun had also considered this problem. He would control the stray cat population through spaying and neutering. This method could only regulate the number of individuals to a limited extent, so he also planned to put some cats up for adoption. After all, no matter how good an environment they created for the cats, it couldn't compare to finding them a safe home. He would do his best to take better care of the cats. Watching Lee Jun dedicate himself to the cats, Shin Eun-ji felt a deep admiration. He usually only saw the cat's cuteness, but this person genuinely cared for the cats and had also taught him what he should do for these furry creatures. Shin Eun-ji asked Lee Jun what the cat's charm was. Although Lee Jun said he wasn't sure, Shin Eun-ji insisted he try to explain. Unexpectedly, he received a surprising answer. Lee Jun actually enjoyed watching the cats act crazy. Seeing the reporter's uneasy reaction, Lee Jun squatted down dejectedly. As expected, I'm the only weird one. Shin Eun-ji quickly comforted him. Although most of the time, cats acting crazy can be scary, they can also be cute sometimes. Lee Jun completely ignored the first half of the sentence, only hearing cute and instantly perked up. With that, Lee Jun's interview about the cat park concluded. A few days later, Sula excitedly reported good news to Lee Jun. The director's report was actually published on the sports channel. A boy had 2 mischievous Jack Russell Terriers and a Great Pyrenees. Each of them possessed power comparable to the great demon King Yuzu. As a result, the boy was suffering under the dog's increasing destruction. But he never imagined that his dogs would be easily tamed by a well-built man. Today, the boy took his dogs to the park for a walk, as usual. However, every few steps, the Jack Russell would stop to mark its territory. Faced with the owner's complaints, the Jack Russell appeared incredibly indignant, saying, "This is my turf. I can do what I want." Blech. After finally appeasing the Jack Russell, the Great Pyrenees on the other side was attracted by a passing butterfly and instantly darted off in pursuit. Against the Great Pyrenees' strength, the small owner could only be dragged along. The boy regretted getting these 2 dogs. He had originally planned to take the dogs to get their vaccinations today, but their bad temper had caused all the nearby hospitals to refuse him. Suddenly, the boy noticed the Great Pyrenees had stopped. When he got up, he saw a well-built man taming the Great Pyrenees. The man thoughtfully advised him to use both firmness and gentleness when raising dogs. The boy quickly took note, feeling curious about this man. It was the first time he had seen someone who could calm his dogs down. At this point, Go Ki-jun got up to leave for work. Unexpectedly, the boy anxiously called out to him, claiming he needed his help. And so, Go Ki-jun brought the boy to Wong Animal Hospital. The boy struggled to hold onto the two curious dogs, but he was powerless against their howling. Just as he was on edge about bringing the dogs to the hospital and causing trouble for others, Go Ki-jun changed into his uniform and took the leashes from the boy. With just a gentle tug, both dogs were restrained by the leashes and couldn't move. The boy, seeing this, was also surprised, thinking if the vet is this strong, then giving them their shots should be no problem. Soon, both dogs were exhausted by Go Ki-jun, having used up most of their energy. Just then, the Jack Russell Terrier spotted a ball nearby and, mustering all its remaining strength, charged towards it. However, the ball was immediately picked up by someone else. Li Jun, holding the ball, asked the dogs if they wanted to play with it. He smiled and soothed them, promising to give them the ball if they calmed down. But he ultimately underestimated the dogs' determination. While demanding he hand over the ball, they began tearing at Li Jun's clothes. In no time, Li Jun's shirt was ripped to shreds. The frightened boy quickly apologized to Li Jun. Fortunately, Li Jun was very tolerant of animals. Inside the treatment room, he asked them if they liked chew toys. Hearing the words chew toys, the dogs instantly became incredibly well-behaved. But after seeing the two meager chew toys offered, both dogs were speechless. The Great Pyrenees threatened to demolish the hospital. The Jack Russell even bit Li Jun's leg, ordering him to bring out the good stuff. Seeing the Jack Russell about to mark its territory, Li Jun quickly produced a jumbo-sized chew toy to appease them. "If you're both good until the end of the treatment," he said, "this is yours." Upon seeing such a large chew toy, the dogs instantly became Li Jun's biggest fans, declaring their willingness to do anything he asked. They even swore they'd be dogs if they didn't keep their promise. After the treatment, the boy was startled. His dogs had become noticeably calmer, and their nails were neatly trimmed. The boy happily thanked Li Jun, saying he didn't know how to repay him for handling these two little rascals. Li Jun told him that the two dogs were actually quite well behaved, as they hadn't shown much aggression, just a lot of energy. Hearing the vet's positive assessment of his dog's personalities, the boy nearly jumped for joy and promised to return to the hospital for any future needs. At that moment, Go Ki-jun told the boy he could seek him out next time. He was confident he could handle any large animal. Having witnessed Go Ki-jun's prowess, the boy believed him without a doubt. Unexpectedly, an owner who appeared to be mistreating their dog arrived at Wong Animal Hospital. Seeing the dog's fearful demeanor, Li Jun was truly angered. Not long before, the two green-haired dogs had just finished their treatment. Su La, having overslept that morning, had just arrived at the hospital, but upon entering, she was startled by the mess everywhere. Su La thought the hospital had been robbed and asked Li Jun what had happened. Li Jun explained that two lively little ones had come in that morning, and the mess on the floor was their shed fur. Su La felt guilty for being late and not being able to help. She asked Li Jun if there was anything else he needed. Li Jun handed her a torn shirt and asked her to throw it away. At that moment, a scruffy-looking man entered, inquiring about services. Li Jun stepped forward to greet him and asked what he needed. The man tugged on the leash. "This dog's hearing isn't very good, and he also has a strong odor. I wanted to see if there's anything you can do about it." As he spoke, he reached out to touch the dog's head, but the dog flinched back, frightened by his movement. Seeing this, Li Jun immediately sensed something was wrong. Just then, Go Ki-jun noticed the Cocker Spaniel and also approached. He inquired about the dog's daily care and training. The man, seeing the tall and imposing Go Ki-jun, was clearly intimidated and gave vague answers to his questions. Although Li Jun could tell the man was lying, he maintained a smile and asked to examine the dog. After receiving the man's consent, Li Jun crouched down to observe the dog's condition. He ran his hands over the dog's body and then softly asked if anything was wrong, encouraging the dog to tell him everything. However, To Li Jun's surprise, the Cocker Spaniel didn't describe what its owner had done but kept repeating, "Help me." Li Jun then instructed Go Ki-jun to get an examination form for the guardian to fill out while he took the dog to the treatment room. Go Ki-jun also sensed something strange. Usually, owners would accompany their dogs to the treatment room. Meanwhile, the man scrolled through TikTok in the waiting room, completely unconcerned. Inside the examination room, Li Jun asked the dog its name. The dog replied that his name was Aji. This made Li Jun a little happy. At least the dog was willing to speak. Aji looked up, somewhat incredulous. This doctor could actually understand him. But when Li Jun asked him to talk about his troubles, Aji hesitated. He even turned his head away, afraid to look at Li Jun. Li Jun knew some things were difficult to talk about, so he suggested they weigh Aji first. Unexpectedly, upon hearing this, Aji became flustered. Li Jun reassured him not to worry, explaining it was just weighing and wouldn't hurt. Although this Cocker Spaniel didn't look unusual on the surface, when Li Jun had touched Aji earlier, he clearly felt numerous injuries hidden beneath his thick fur on both his back and legs. After weighing Aji, Li Jun's suspicions were further confirmed. Aji weighed only 6 kilograms. A Cocker Spaniel of Aji's age should weigh at least 9 kilograms to be considered healthy. Li Jun suspected that the guardian outside had likely neglected Aji after taking him in, possibly even abusing him. Just then, Aji's whimpering caught Li Jun's attention. He was cowering on the scale, trembling, and muttering, "I'm sorry, don't hit me." Li Jun didn't understand why Aji thought he was going to hit him. Aji trembled as he replied, "Because I think I did something wrong. Doing something wrong means I'm a bad dog. Bad dogs get hit." Hearing this, Li Jun couldn't hide his sympathy for Aji. Just how much abuse had this dog suffered to say such a thing so matter-of-factly? He held the frightened Aji in his arms, vowing to make his guardian pay. A man brought his Cocker Spaniel to Wong Animal Hospital for treatment, but Li Jun discovered signs of abuse. The dog, named Aji, was extremely sensitive. Any slight movement or sound would frighten him. After parting Aji's fur, Li Jun found numerous distinct wounds on his body. X-rays even revealed that most of the wounds were from fractures that had healed on their own without any surgical intervention. Li Jun clenched his fists in anger. He asked Aji what had happened and offered to help if needed. It turned out the man ran a puppy mill where he kept many Cocker Spaniels like Aji. However, due to the man's poor management, the dog's appearances suffered from the environment and no one wanted to buy them. But the man didn't improve the dog's living conditions. Instead, he took his anger out on them. The sound of the man kicking a metal cage startled Aji, who was hiding in the corner. He even urinated out of fear. This, of course, became another excuse for the man's abuse. He claimed he was teaching the dogs to read the room, but in reality, no matter what the dogs did, he always found a reason to mistreat them. They were beaten for eating too much food and often deprived of water. Under this constant torment, Aji was on the verge of collapse. Li Jun photographed Aji's injuries with his phone, saddened by his tragic situation. Then, Aji suddenly asked Li Jun how he could be a good dog. How could he make his owner like him? Li Jun didn't know how to answer. Deep down, Aji probably knew that trying to get closer to the man was pointless, but he still strived for that elusive love. After Li Jun told Luo and his senior colleague about Aji's situation, in order to bring the man to justice, Li Jun lied, saying that Aji's ear needed to reduce swelling before it could be treated, and that it might take some time. The man responded with impatience, cursing the Cocker Spaniel as an annoying, bothersome creature. This outburst caught the attention of Su La and Ji Jin, and even surprised Li Jun. However, the man continued to complain about Aji, saying he stank and was always getting sick, wasting his money. What Li Jun found even more unforgivable was, the man even asked him about the market price of teddy. If it were a teddy, maybe it wouldn't have such a strong smell. Ji Yoon glared, wanting to confront him, but Li Jun stopped him. Arguing with this kind of person is pointless. Only by relying on the law can we save children who have suffered the same fate as Aji. So, Li Jun continued to appease the man with a smile. But the lengthy treatment had worn out the man's patience that I don't want to treat him anymore. Anyway, he has plenty of these kind of dogs. Li Jun didn't outwardly refuse, but kept saying it was a pity. Just a little more treatment, and the smell will disappear completely. Hearing this, the man took the bait and called Li Jun back. Li Jun carefully led Kyung to the treatment room and told him to keep his voice down. Then he showed Ki-young the pictures he had just taken. Aji's toes had signs of adhesion after the fracture. This meant that the man hadn't taken Aji for treatment after he was injured. Seeing this, Ki-young immediately started cursing, startling Lee Jun, who quickly covered his mouth. If the man found out, he might just take Aji away to you want to let him escape and continue to harm other dogs. Ki-young shook his head. Then he looked at the wounds on Aji's body. They were clearly fresh injuries from either yesterday or today. This behavior of treating animals like disposable objects enraged Ki-young. Lee Jun's task for Ki-young was to stop the man, to prevent him from escaping. He had already reported all the evidence. Now, he just needed to wait a few minutes for the man to pay the price. The moment he saw the police car, the man became alert. He just stood up and wanted to leave, but a voice called out to him. Ki-young told him that the treatment was finished and he could now go into the treatment room to see the dog. The man explained that he had forgotten to bring money and needed to go to the bank next door. However, Ki-young grabbed his arm and told him to go inside and see the dog first. The money didn't matter. It was the dog's first time here, and it might be frightened if its guardian wasn't there. At this moment, the man turned his head and saw that the police had gotten out of the car. The man's attitude immediately became aggressive. He yelled to let him go, promising he would be right back. But Ki-young just silently held onto his arm, refusing to let go. Seeing this, Lee Jun told Ki-young to release him, because now the man had nowhere to run. Senior Rowe arrived at Wong Animal Hospital with the police. The police immediately stated their purpose. They had received a report of animal abuse and were there to investigate. So, Lee Jun unhesitatingly identified the man as the culprit. Only then did the man realize what was happening, but he still wanted to make one last struggle. When the police asked him for his ID, he actually demanded that the police show him evidence of animal abuse. Otherwise, suddenly, a police officer was called to take him away. He refused to cooperate. Having no other choice, the police asked Lee Jun if he had any evidence. Lee Jun was prepared. He handed the x-ray photos he had taken earlier to the police, who then asked for Rowe's opinion. Looking at the x-ray, the dog's bones are somewhat dislocated. This is evidence that it didn't receive treatment after the fracture. In other words, the man deliberately neglected the injured dog. But even so, the man still denied the abuse. He claimed that the dog had always been well cared for by him and that he had brought the dog to the hospital specifically for treatment. If he had really abused the dog, why would he bring it to the hospital for an examination? His roaring voice attracted the attention of the onlookers outside. Seeing the man's stubborn denial, Lee Jun asked Sula to bring Aji out. Unlike before, Aji's body was now visibly covered in wounds of all sizes. The man immediately felt uneasy upon seeing this. Sula just shaved Aji. It was only now that they realized Aji not only had bruises all over his body, but was also severely malnourished. This scene made both the police and Rowe feel a surge of anger. At this point, Lee Jun issued his final question to the man. Now that all the evidence is clear, do you still want to deny it? What kind of scum could make even the usually gentle Lee Jun resort to violence? It turned out the man was the owner of a puppy mill. To maximize his profits, the man chose to breed rare Cocker Spaniels. However, due to his poor care, the dogs were in poor condition and no one was willing to buy them. The man, however, blamed the innocent dogs. He would physically abuse them at the slightest provocation. Today, he brought the dogs to Wong Animal Hospital to get rid of their smell. After examining the dogs, Lee Jun discovered countless fractures and wounds, and they were severely malnourished. After learning what happened from Aji, he immediately called the police. Even with the evidence presented, the man resisted arrest. He suddenly bolted for the door. He froze as he reached the door. Two experienced police officers were already waiting there. Lee Jun ran out of the hospital. He told the man that if he felt any remorse for Aji, he should confess. Hearing this, a fleeting smile crossed the man's panicked face. He was the one providing shelter and food. Why should he feel guilty? Besides, it was just a dog. What did it matter if it died? As soon as he finished speaking, Ki-young furiously approached the man and lifted him up like a chick. He couldn't tolerate someone abusing animals so cruelly and acting so self-righteous. Just as Ki-young was about to make the man suffer what Aji had, Lee Jun quickly stopped him. He urged Ki-young not to resort to violence. He said that even if he hit the man, it wouldn't resolve anything. It was best to leave him to the police. Ki-young angrily threw the man to the ground. The man immediately started shouting that he wouldn't let this go. In this society, hitting a dog and hitting a person were two completely different things. While infuriating, it was hard to argue against. As the man was ranting, Guo suddenly shoved his camera in his face. When questioned, he explained with a smile that he just wanted a close-up. Guo then asked the man if he liked cats. Compared to dogs, cats had an untamed charm. As he spoke, Silver and Little Black pounced on the man. Hearing about the abused dog, the two cats joined forces. Little Black aimed his rear at the man and let out a fart. Silver, meanwhile, grabbed his cat toy and launched a fierce attack on the man's groin. Guo quickly filmed the man's pathetic struggle. Li Jun was glad Guo came to help. Guo felt it was his duty. Scumbags like this deserved to be exposed. Although he couldn't beat the man himself, it was even more satisfying to have the cats get revenge. Before the man got into the police car, Ki-young asked him why he did such a thing. The man sighed and then taunted Ki-young, saying they were no different. They might seem righteous, but they still used animals for profit. Ki-young clenched his fists, about to punch the unrepentant man. But Li Jun lunged forward first, landing a powerful uppercut that contorted the man's face. The veterinarian who could talk to animals was now avoiding conversations with them. Not long ago, the animal abuser had been brought to justice, but his parting words had ignited Li Jun's fury. He had mocked Li Jun, saying they were both using animals for profit, and his supposed righteousness was self-deception. Enraged, Li Jun punched the man in the face. He declared that veterinarians work to save animals. Even without reward, he wanted animals to live happy lives. Despite this, Li Jun was also taken to the police station for assault. The man, with his mouth agape, complained to the police about Li Jun's violence, claiming his teeth were now loose. When questioned by the police, Li Jun readily admitted to the assault, but he said his hands were also quite injured, so it should be considered self-defense. The man angrily grabbed Li Jun's clothes, while Li Jun cried out like a victim. Violence is so terrifying. Fortunately, Nan Gongshan heard about the incident and rushed to the police station. After he explained the whole story, he successfully got Li Jun out. Nan Gongshan was very surprised. Director Li Jun, always calm and gentle, would actually get so angry he used his fists. Actually, Li Jun wasn't just angry at the animal abuser. He was also angry at the flimsy, ineffective laws. It was those insignificant penalties that created the abuser's persistently self-righteous attitude. In the end, it's only the poor animals who suffer. He clearly knew that the harm they suffered wasn't just physical, but Li Jun was powerless to help them. Seeing Li Jun becoming consumed by self-blame, Nan Gongshan comforted him, saying he hadn't done anything wrong. It was precisely to prevent such things from happening again that they should continue their efforts. He then asked what should be done with Aji. Li Jun originally wanted to send him to an animal shelter and wait for someone to adopt him, but he considered that abused dogs are extremely sensitive and might not be able to adapt to life in a shelter. In the end, Li Jun changed his mind. He would take care of Aji until he fully recovered. Nan Gongshan had clearly anticipated Li Jun's decision, but he still hadn't anticipated that the repeated experiences of life and death had nearly crushed Li Jun completely. At that moment, inside Wang Animal Hospital, Ki-young was carrying a seriously injured dog into the treatment room. The dog was struggling on the operating table due to the pain. Ki-young was also trembling all over from nervousness. He'd had this problem since he was a student, but now Li Jun wasn't there. He could only try his best to control his emotions and treat the dog's wounds. Just then, Li Jun rushed back to the hospital. He changed into his scrubs as quickly as possible and asked what had happened. Ki-young's expression was quite grim. He told Li Jun that the dog had been hit by a car and was currently semi-conscious. It would react to any stimulation. Hearing this, Li Jun asked Suare to get some painkillers. Then he carefully observed the dog's condition. The dog's breathing gradually weakened. Surgery was needed immediately to prevent further bleeding from the wound. Although they hadn't taken an X-ray yet, Li Jun still told Ki-young to prepare for surgery. Ki-young wondered if they should do an examination first. Li Jun yelled at Ki-young to look at the situation in front of him. If they didn't operate while examining, the dog had no chance of survival. Hearing this, Ki-young hurriedly ran out. The dog on the operating table whimpered in pain. He was so scared. He wanted to see his dad again. Li Jun stroked his head, comforting him that he would see his dad again as soon as he woke up. In his dream, the dog came to his owner's side. He wondered why his dad wouldn't look at him. Maybe he was still angry with him. The dog nuzzled his head against the man's side, promising he wouldn't cause any more trouble and would listen to his dad. At the same time, a sharp sound woke Li Jun up. There was no longer any information on the monitor. This meant the dog's heart had completely stopped. Li Jun walked out of the operating room, devastated. The man waiting outside anxiously asked about the dog's condition. Li Jun explained that he had removed the dog's spleen and quickly disinfected it, but ultimately couldn't save him. Hearing this, the man was stunned. Tears streamed down his face. Li Jun wanted to comfort him, but didn't know what to say. After seeing the man off, Li Jun noticed Kyung and Suare looking like they wanted to say something, but were hesitant. They urged Li Jun to look ahead and that he had done his best. Li Jun smiled and waved his hand, saying it was okay. It wasn't the first time he had encountered this situation. He wouldn't be so easily discouraged. After all, there were still many animals in need of his help. A few days later, a dog in the park recognized Li Jun. It happened. He said he didn't know why Li Jun disliked him. His mom had taken him to the hospital for a shave and checkup. He had repeatedly said that it wasn't time for his checkup yet, but Li Jun just agreed with his mom. Completely ignoring his plea for help, Peanut suddenly thought of a possibility. Perhaps Li Jun could no longer hear him, so he decided to test the doctor. "There's a cockroach on your chair." Unexpectedly, Li Jun jumped up from his chair. The air instantly fell silent. After realizing that Li Jun was deliberately ignoring him, Peanut wanted to tear him to shreds. Xiaoming also mentioned that Li Jun hadn't greeted her in the park yesterday. These incidents made Peanut realize that Li Jun's problem wasn't simple. He was a veterinarian who could understand animals. He should have been using this ability to treat more injured animals. But now, he was avoiding conversations with them. It was all because during his last surgery, Li Jun failed to save a dog injured in a car accident. The dog's hopes of recovering and reuniting with its owner turned into guilt and self-blame that lingered in Li Jun's heart. Suare, who was standing nearby, saw the change in Li Jun. While reporting that he was leaving for the day, he also advised the director not to push himself too hard. After all, you have Silver and Little Black waiting for you at home. Although Li Jun verbally agreed. He then made a cup of coffee, preparing to continue working overtime. Suddenly, his cell phone rang in his pocket. Li Jun picked it up and saw it was a call from Senior Luo Su. As soon as he answered, Luo Su's anxious voice came from the other end. They had been in a car accident on their way to the animal shelter. Several injured dogs were in urgent need of treatment. Since Li Jun's hospital was the closest, Luo Su wanted to ask him to help treat a severely injured dog first. Hearing about the car accident, Li Jun's heart panicked. The image of his last patient resurfaced in his mind. The dog, named Coco, had kept murmuring about wanting to return to its owner until its death. Li Jun was about to refuse Luo Su, but Daodu's words echoed in his ears. He had hoped that other animals could also find happiness. Li Jun was torn. Daodu was a dog Li Jun had once owned. He had personally buried Daodu after the dog passed away from illness. At the time, Li Jun was also immersed in grief, unable to extricate himself. Fortunately, his grandfather's comfort and guidance helped him out of the gloom. His grandfather told Li Jun that he understood the sadness of parting, but dwelling on it would only make the other party worry. You should say goodbye with a smile, so the dog can happily go to doggy heaven. Besides, your dream is to become a veterinarian. If you keep grieving, how can you take care of other animals? Even for Daodu's sake, you should do your best to help more animals. After all, making them live happily is a veterinarian's job. Cherish all the other animals, just like you did Daodu. So don't be too sad. Become a strong and determined veterinarian step by step. Later, Li Jun still brought the injured dog back to the hospital. He thought he had become that kind of veterinarian. But hearing the dog's dying whimpers, Li Jun began to doubt himself. Did he still have the right to be the veterinarian his grandfather spoke of? While Li Jun was medicating the dog on the operating table drifted into a dream. He dreamt he had arrived at a paradise. His injured leg felt no pain at all, just as he was about to frolic. His path was blocked by another dog. A schnauzer greeted him with a playful grin. This dog was Daodu. Seeing the other dog startled and about to attack, Daodu asked him not to look so scary. He had come to ask for a favor. There was a person who was very important to him, but because of the gift he had given, that person had become very tired. So Daodu wanted him to help give Li Jun a message. The Chow Chow fell silent for a second. Then he flatly refused Daodu's request. In his opinion, getting involved with humans had no benefits. It only brought pain and suffering. Besides, he hated this kind of troublesome thing. Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, Dowdu started crying uncontrollably. He retorted, "There are many joys in being with humans." He could easily list 1,000 advantages. The Schnauzer was getting fed up with his rambling. Dowdu dropped a line, saying he would never agree, and turned to run. Just then, he woke up. He looked around in a daze and found his injured leg bandaged. He realized that everything had been a dream. Before he could relax, Dowdu appeared again, begging him to agree. A chorus of barks erupted behind Li Jun. He turned around and saw the Schnauzer talking to someone. "What do you want? Why do you keep pestering me?" Li Jun wondered what the dog was seeing. Suddenly, he realized it was a Schnauzer. Legend had it that Schnauzers could see ghosts and spirits. Li Jun fearfully turned his head away. He didn't want to hear anything strange. But the Schnauzer's next words stunned Li Jun. He seemed to hear Dowdu's name from the dog's mouth. Li Jun approached the Schnauzer in disbelief and asked, "Did you just call out Dowdu?" The Schnauzer not only realized that Li Jun could communicate with him, but also that Li Jun was Dowdu's owner. Finally, the annoying spirit left him and started circling Li Jun. He immediately complained to Li Jun. "The dog said you're feeling down and keeps bothering me." Learning that the Schnauzer could see Dowdu, Li Jun became excited. He anxiously asked what Dowdu had said. The Schnauzer found this human strange. Why would a human show such an earnest expression upon hearing news of dog? Under pressure from both Dowdu and Li Jun, the Schnauzer relented and began relaying Dowdu's words. From the conversation, Li Jun learned that Dowdu had been watching over him. He noticed that Li Jun had been particularly tired lately. He wouldn't make eye contact with his friends and even seemed afraid to hear their voices. "That is it the gift I gave you that's making you upset?" Li Jun quickly denied it. He told Dowdu that thanks to this ability, he had learned a lot and could easily understand the thoughts of those furry children. But because of this, he had become arrogant, thinking he could do anything well, until a recent incident made him doubt whether what he was doing was right. Hearing this, Dowdu comforted him. "But you always try to save as many animals as possible and work hard to make them happy. From this perspective, you're already a strong and capable veterinarian." His grandfather's advice suddenly came to mind. Then Li Jun asked his final question, "Am I a good owner to you?" Dowdu smiled slightly, happily stating that it was the happiest time of his life. By now, Li Jun was in tears. He begged Dowdu to come back to him in the next life. After Dowdu agreed, he disappeared under the Schnauzer's watchful gaze. He hadn't expected Dowdu's longing to see his owner to allow him to briefly return to reality, nor had he expected such a strong bond between a human and a dog. Possessing the ability to understand animals, his animal hospital sparked heated discussions among the animals. And today, Wong Wong Animal Hospital had been upgraded. The reason was that not long ago, Li Jun failed to save a furry child. This incident made Li Jun realize the need for a better environment. With Nan Gongxian's help, Wong Wong Animal Hospital was relocated and expanded. Silver was also pleased with the new hospital. Just from the outside, it looked more luxurious than the previous one, but he still felt a bit nostalgic for the old Wong Wong Animal Hospital. However, as soon as Li Jun put Silver down, he and Little Black immediately rushed in and started fighting over territory. They even got into a scuffle. But in Suare and Ki Jun's eyes, this was just their usual playful roughhousing. Just then, two people walked in. They were the new members Li Jun had recruited. The man was named Yu Huan, and the woman was named Cha Eugene. They were specialists in internal medicine and radiology, respectively. Li Jun looked forward to saving more furry children with their help. Eugene shyly expressed her desire to see Silver and Little Black. Li Jun called the two cats over. Eugene's face lit up with happiness. Learning that the other person was his fan, Silver politely rubbed against him. Later, during their conversation, he learned that Eugene also came here to work because of the cats. He had seen the interview with the director and the cats online. At first, he thought it was a fabricated story, but seeing how the cats trusted and followed him, he felt that the director must be trustworthy. As he spoke, Eugene brought Silver over to Yu Huan. "Weren't you excited before when we talked about going to see Silver and Little Black?" But seeing the expression on Yu Huan's face, Li Jun felt something was strange. Little Black instinctively felt that this person was afraid of them. At this moment, Yu Huan was extremely nervous. Unlike Eugene, he came to Wong Wong Animal Hospital to overcome his fear of cats. In the past, whenever patients learned that he was afraid of cats, but not reptiles, they would look at him in disbelief. It all started when Yu Huan, as a child, was attacked by a stray cat on his way home from school. Since then, he had developed a fear of cats, but he wanted to overcome it and become an excellent veterinarian like director Lee Jun. Lee Jun then walked over. Once we start treating animals, we take on a lot of responsibility. Due to environmental issues, we will see all kinds of companion animals, and cats are among the most common. Yuhwan's heart skipped a beat. It seemed the director had already noticed his problem, but Lee Jun didn't blame him, only hoping that they could overcome it together in the future. Later, to help Yuhwan cure his ailurophobia, Lee Jun had Silver pretend to be a patient and asked Yuhwan to take his blood pressure. However, when Silver saw Yuhwan's fearful look, he immediately got a mischievous idea. If I can take this scaredy cat as my minion, I'll never have to worry about food and drinks again. Lee Jun immediately saw through Silver's thoughts. If you dare scare Dr. Yu, I'll give all your snacks to Little Black. Hearing this, Silver could only cooperate obediently. Afterwards, with Lee Jun's help, Yuhwan successfully measured Silver's blood pressure. Elsewhere, Eugene was learning from Go Kijin today. Kijin was quite satisfied with Eugene's performance. As for Yuhwan, without Lee Jun's help, he still didn't dare touch Silver, let alone anything else. To make matters worse, Silver would even try to scare him from time to time. Lee Jun was just about to go over and comfort him when he heard Yuhwan determinedly declare that he would change. If he continued to be afraid, the furry children who came to the hospital would also feel uneasy. He also didn't want to turn a blind eye to the furry children who needed help because of his fear that if that's the case, come with me to find stray cats tomorrow. The location is in the park near the hospital, where you can also go to the animal shelter to help. Thus began Yuhwan's special training. He went from being stiff at the sight of cats to gradually being able to examine and treat them. This day, Yuhwan came to work at the hospital. Suare hoped he didn't think the director was too strict. He did this because he had high expectations for Yuhwan. Yuhwan quickly said he wouldn't dare, and that he was worried about not meeting those expectations. These days, he felt that the director was far more remarkable than the rumors suggested. The cats came whenever he called, almost as if he could communicate with animals. Not only that, but after taking care of the stray cats, he also went to the animal shelter to help. Suddenly, Suare remembered that the director was going to give a lecture at another hospital today. He had instructed Yuhwan to be the main diagnostician for the day. Are you kidding me? I'm not confident yet, but that's what the director said. And if there are any problems, Kijin and Eugene are still here. However, his first client was a cat, and at first glance, it looked like a super ferocious one. This cat was called Radish. The owner said he had been scratching his ears a lot recently. Yuhwan had no choice but to bite the bullet. As a result, Radish, without a word, slapped Yuhwan. The diagnosis immediately fell into chaos. Fortunately, Yuhwan still discovered the problem. He said it was just some ear inflammation. But as he touched Radish's back, Yuhwan suddenly realized the problem wasn't so simple.